Perfect. Thank you.
Are we ready? Okay. Call to order, Madison District Public Schools Board of Education meeting. Today is Monday, January 11th, 2021. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom. I'd like to welcome the mayor as our guest here today, and we'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Scott.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
for
which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the roll call and public fundamentals with public comments. Public fundamentals with public comments. Public input is fundamental to the operation of Madison District Public Schools. Our public has the opportunity to speak at every board meeting, Board of Education meeting. A period of time known as public comments is set aside at each meeting to give parents and other citizens a chance to speak directly to the board about school-related topics. Anyone who wishes to speak to the board must fill out a request form and give it to the board secretary before the meeting begins. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. School employees will not use this form to discuss job-related topics. The Board of Education accepts comments made during public comment from anyone who follows these guidelines. Public comment is one of the many information sources that the board uses before making decisions in the best interest of children who attend Madison District Public Schools. The board also works with the district staff to address citizens' questions and concerns.
Okay, Angela, can I do a roll call real quick?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Mrs. Beaver. Here. Miss Chambliss.
Here.
Mr. Holcomb.
Here,
Mrs.
Madison
Holder.
Heights, Michigan.
Mrs. Holder.
Here.
Mrs. Ott.
Doing that.
We know she's here.
Thank you, Sarah. Here.
Miss Scott.
Beth Scott, Madison Heights, Michigan.
And Mrs. Thompson.
Here, Madison Heights, Michigan.
There's only one hand up for public comments. It's Mr. Smith.
Okay. Mr. Smith, can you unmute yourself?
Hold on.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Very good. Okay, I'll start. I'm Tom Smith. This is my opinion. I read the 2020 Plant Moran School District audit. This is the first audit of the new administration is responsible for, and it's a night and day improvement over the last one by the previous administration. Superintendent Abdulahad and Dr. Hill were faced with an unprecedented financial crisis due to COVID-19. They and their team rolled up their sleeves and made the hard decisions and cuts that prevented the district from overspending its resources. The district actually improved its unassigned fund balance from the previous year. They continue paying down bond debt and meeting their pension and retiree health care obligations. This is a tremendous achievement under challenging circumstances. The single audit report, Plant Moran noted that certain sub-accounts could be reconciled in a more timely manner. I'm sure this recommendation will happen. That was the only finding, and I'll bet they're still cleaning up from the last administration. In comparison, the 2019 single audit report from the previous administration had many findings of malfeasance, including undocumented purchases, payroll and purchasing errors, failure to apply internal controls, and more. In short, it was a mess. The improvement with the new administration is obvious and a service to the community. 2 of the trustees who are responsible for these improvements were voted out. They should have been reelected. They left the district in much better shape than when they got here. They served the community, not themselves. They set a high bar for the new trustees to meet. I'd like to hear from the person or persons who made financial complaints in the last election. Bring them in front of the board. From what I hear, they're false. I'd like to see them defend their complaints to the board in the public forum, not on Facebook. Many thanks to trustees Ott, Thompson, Castle, and Ms. Cedarlet on the face mask project for the students. What an outstanding contribution to student and public safety. Their effort reinforces the fact that COVID-19 is no joke and young people need to wear their masks to safeguard themselves, their families, and their community. $400 and 600 hours of effort is no joke either. It's a great example of community service that benefits us all. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sarah, is there anyone else?
There's nobody else with their hand raised.
Okay. At this time, the next item on the agenda is the public swearing in of newly appointed Board of Education members and trustees, Crystal Bieber, Rebecca Chambliss, Cindy Holder, and Mark Holcomb. We did invite the mayor to do the office, the oath of office.
Thank you, Mr. Abdul-Ahad. Under normal circumstances, I would be standing across from you. So we're going to imagine that I am, and I'm going to ask you all to please raise your right hand and to repeat after me. Yes, I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state,
The Constitution of this state.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of the member of the Board of Education of Madison School District.
Of the office of the Board of Education, Madison.
Madison Heights
District.
District.
This is for Crystal Beaver, Rebecca Chambliss, Mark Holcomb, and Cindy Holder. Congratulations. I look forward to working with the 4 of you. I look forward to working with all of you, but I welcome you onto this board, and just to be on the record, about within a week, I'd say, after the election, I did contact each of the 4 of you to congratulate you and to let you know that I look forward to moving not just the city, but the district as a whole forward. It's been a very challenging year for everyone, not just the school, not just the city, but the country and the world. And I look to partner with you as we all try to move forward and do what is best for the residents of the city and for the students at the schools. So thank you for running. Thank you for serving on the board. I wish you luck, and I now shake your hand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go and prepare now for city council meeting, but I thank you for the invite, and I look forward to a time when I can meet with you all in person. Have a good night.
Have a good night, man.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, first of all, congratulations, trustees. The next item on the agenda is the election of officers. At this time, we need a nomination for a temporary.
Miss Scott is muted.
I'm
She's-
sorry.
Sorry.
At this time,
Angel, I tried sending you a message. I can't keep getting muted.
I didn't mute you.
I'm just saying, we gotta pay attention because if we get muted, we can't,
okay. So I was saying, at this time, we need an election, a nomination for a temporary chairperson and a temporary secretary.
I'll nominate Deb Ott for temporary chair president.
I'll second that.
Who seconded it?
Tom,
Gloria.
Gloria, okay.
And then you also need a temporary secretary.
we should vote on this one first.
Oh, okay. All right.
Are there any other nominations?
Temporary, you mean just for what?
It's just temporary, just to elect the officers. Because I can't conduct this meeting. I mean, I start the meeting, but then I got to hand it over.
Okay,
So if there
If
isn't
there-
any,
If there's no others, I accept the nomination.
okay. So you don't have to vote, Sarah. It's only one person. Do you want it?
I think we have to officially take a vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
aye,
I,
All opposed? Okay,
Motion carries 7-0.
and then you also need a temporary chairperson.
So you mean-
I'm sorry, temporary secretary. But I think at this time I have to turn over the meeting to
Deb.
Ms.
Yes.
Ott. Ms. Ott,
Okay. All right, thank you. At this time, I need a nomination for a temporary secretary.
Madam Temporary Chairman, I move that Gloria Thompson be our temporary secretary.
I would like to motion for Crystal Beaver as temporary secretary.
Wait. First, you have to see if I have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
No. I have to mute myself, sorry.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Mrs.
Gloria.
Thompson?
Gloria Thompson.
Yes.
And I accept the nomination.
And Ms. Scott nominated Crystal Beaver. Was there a second?
I'll second it.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Thank you. Crystal, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for temporary secretary?
You
I'm
also get
sorry, Miss
muted
Scott
again.
is muted, needs to be unmuted.
She said she muted herself.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, but she can't unmute it.
I'm sorry, I don't have a choice because if Amelia's screaming, I'd rather mute than have
Right.
you guys hear
Yeah.
that. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Any other nominations for temporary secretary? Since they both accepted the nomination, do we need a roll call vote for Gloria as temporary secretary?
Okay.
Ms. Scott,
Who are we voting for, Gloria or Crystal?
Gloria,
No,
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes,
Mrs. Beaver,
This is just for temporary, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Yes, I don't.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss.
No.
Motion carries 5-2.
Okay, Gloria, temporary secretary. And now at this time, I would need a nomination for president. Are there any nominations?
Madam Chairperson,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate, we're doing president, correct?
Yes.
I'd like to
No, we-
nominate Cindy Holder.
are we temporary now or is this permanent?
No.
No, this is
It's
full,
permanent.
permanent. I'm nominating Cindy Holder.
I'll second it.
and I would like to nominate Deb Ott.
I'll second
I'll
it.
sec,
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Cindy?
I
Cindy?
accept the nomination, but I didn't get, I couldn't recognize the voice for
Of your-
the support of Dabat for president.
I have Miss Chambliss.
Thank you.
And at this time, I would like to thank you for the nominations, but I'm going to pass at this time for president. Okay.
Then I'd
Sarah?
like, to-
Oh,
can I motion for another president?
Sure.
I would like to motion for Rebecca Chambliss.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Crystal, Ms. Beaver, thank you. Ms. Chambliss, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Any other nominations? Sarah, can we have a roll call vote, please?
This is for Miss
Who are we
Holder.
starting with?
The first nomination, Ms. Holder?
Mrs.
Okay.
Roll call, Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Miss Scott,
No,
Miss Chambliss,
No.
Mrs. Beaver.
No.
Motion carries 4-3.
Okay. And
Okay.
with that, I will pick up the gavel and continue.
Here is the,
I believe,
Yeah.
Ms. Holder, I believe you have to, the chairperson has to do all the assignments, the vice president, the secretary, and the treasurer, and then we do the seating of officers.
Oh,
okay.
okay. We've never done it that way
I'm
before,
sorry.
but okay.
Yeah,
That's
all
fine.
right.
So now we are looking for motions for vice president. Do I have any nominations at this point?
I would like to nominate Rebecca Chambliss for vice president.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Mark Holcomb.
Do we need a second on Ms. Chambliss?
I
yeah, we
will
do.
second Miss Chambliss.
Okay.
And I will support Mark Holcomb.
Are there any other nominations for vice president? So first, let's see. My notes are all messed up. Sarah, do you know who was nominated first?
Miss Chambliss.
Ms.
Yeah.
Chambliss. Okay. Ms. Chambliss, do you accept the nomination? Did I already ask that? I'm sorry.
No, you didn't.
No, it's okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Mr. Holcomb, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. So we need a roll call vote, please, Sarah, for Ms. Chambliss for vice president.
Mrs. Thompson,
No.
Mr. Holcomb,
No.
Miss Scott,
Yes,
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Miss Chambliss,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
No.
and who did I miss?
Me.
Ms. Holder.
Mrs. Holder, sorry.
No.
Motion fails 4-3.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. We need a roll call vote for Mark Holcomb as vice president, please.
Miss Scott,
no,
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Miss Chambliss,
No.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, now we are going to make nominations at this time for the office of secretary. Are there
Oh.
any?
I would like to nominate Crystal Beaver for secretary.
I'll second it.
And I would like to nominate Debbie Ott for secretary.
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations?
Who seconded that? Sorry,
Me, I did.
Mrs. Holder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay, Sarah, can we have a roll call vote for Crystal Beaver for secretary, please?
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
No.
Mrs. Holder,
No.
Mrs. Ott,
No.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson.
No.
Motion fails 4-3.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, can we have a roll call vote for Debbie Ott as office of secretary, please?
Ms. Scott,
I'm sorry, what was the motion?
The motion for Debbie Ott for secretary?
No.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
Okay, now we have treasurer position. Do we have any nominations for treasurer? I would
I'd
like
like
to
to-
nominate Gloria Thompson, please.
And I'll second it.
I would like to nominate Rebecca Chamberlain.
I'll second Rebecca.
Okay, I'm sorry, hang on, I'm taking notes too. Okay, Sarah, could we have a roll call vote, please, for, I'm
We
sorry,
have
is there
to
any other
accept our
nomination?
nominations.
I accept the nomination. Ms. Chambliss?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Could we have a roll call vote, please, Sarah?
Mr.
For-
Holcomb,
Who's this on?
This is for Debbie.
Yes.
Ms.
no, this is for Gloria.
Wait
This
a
is for
minute.
No.
Gloria.
Oh,
This is
We're
For
at-
Mrs. Thompson.
Treasurer.
We're at treasurer.
Yes,
guys,
Gloria.
I'm looking at my notes and I'm writing in the wrong stuff. Okay, this is for Gloria. Gloria Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
No.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
No.
Ms. Scott,
No.
Mrs. Ott.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-3.
Okay. That takes our elections to a close. Thank you. Okay, Madam President, you're up.
Yes, ma'am. So next on the agenda is seating of the new board members and re-elected board members. Mr. Abdullah Had, what do we have with that?
There's a recommended
The
motion.
motion?
There's a
Okay,
recommended
got it.
motion on the action sheet.
I'm gonna read it and just let somebody take it and then support it. We need a motion that the Madison District School Board of Education is comprised of 7 members who are elected for terms of 4 years. Members holding office in January 1st, 2021, and the expiration of their current terms are listed. Deborah Ott, 12/31/2022. Beth Scott, 12/31/2022. Gloria Thompson, 12/31/2022. Crystal Beaver, 12/31/2024. Rebecca Chambliss, 12/31/2024. Mark Holcomb, 12/31/2024. And Cindy Holder, 12/31/2024. It's recommended the Board of Education be in favor of the above list.
Madam President, I'd like to make the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Zat.
I'll second.
it. Oh,
Who wants it?
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Glory.
Okay.
Put
Ms. Zat
anybody's name down,
made the
Sarah.
motion. Ms. Thompson is seconding. All in favor? Aye.
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 And let's see, what's next on the agenda? We have designation of depositories, bylaw 154-A. And administrative comments in accordance with the MDPS Board of Education bylaws section 154. The board shall, at the organizational meeting, designate depositories for school funds, MCLA 380.1221. The district designated depositories are Fifth Third Bank, PFM, in parentheses, MILAF, and the Huntington Bank. It is recommended that the Board of Education approves the designated depositors as required by the Madison District Public Schools Bylaws 154-A as Fifth Third Bank, PFM, MILAF, and the Huntington National Bank.
I'll take
Do
that
we
motion.
have, thank you, Ms. Thompson. Ms.
I'll
Thompson,
second it.
Second that.
Ms. Beaver, Mrs. Beaver supported. Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
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 Excuse me, Chair. I think during Zoom, we're supposed to vote individually, yes or no. It's not yay or nay, it's yes. We go around individually, yes or no. During
It's only
Zoom
been
meeting.
when there's money issues in the past. So if that's what you would prefer, I would be glad to accommodate you.
Thank you very
We can go
much.
back and do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yep. So can we just have that individually roll call, please?
So this is the depositories, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Chambliss,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Miss Scott,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next topic is administrative comments. The designation of the authorized persons to sign checks, contracts, agreements, and purchase orders under the bylaw 154-B. In accordance with DPS Board of Education bylaws section 0154, the superintendent shall be authorized to sign checks, contracts, agreements, and purchase orders in accordance with the board policies under $10,000 threshold. In accordance with the MDPS Board of Education bylaws, section 154, the CFO shall be authorized to sign purchase orders in accordance with the board policies under $10,000 threshold. It is recommended that the Board of Education designates the superintendent and/or CFO to be authorized to sign checks, contracts, agreements, and purchase orders in accordance with board policy. Is there any discussion?
Yes,
Um,
I have a discussion. I would like
Thank you,
to
Ms.
ask,
Scott. You've
Thank
been recognized. Thank you.
thank you. I would like to ask that this board table this for another time for discussion, because I've been researching other districts in Oakland County and beyond. And we're a very small district, and there are larger districts, and majority of them have between 3,000 to 5,000 that we would allow. And I just think if we're going to be transparent, then we should actually be transparent. And this is due to this specific bylaw, we ended up having C&G News charge us $9,000 a couple of times without the board knowing. And I just don't think that, I think we should table this and have a discussion about this. in my opinion.
Anybody else?
President?
Ms. Thompson?
Well, in the first place, we set this, it's been 10,000 for the last 2 years. As far as C&G News, everything that goes on the check register, the board knows about. Every board gets a copy of that check register and should look at it along with myself every single time. So it's not that it went through and nobody knew. We had discussed previously to lowering that, but we have some pretty horrendous repairs that need to be done in this district. I don't recommend lowering it at this point. About it in the past, and I don't see a reason to table it. It's something we could bring up in the future if we want to change it.
Madam
Okay, well-
President, Madam President, may I say something? Actually,
Yes.
this threshold of $10,000 has been in place for over 11 years. So this is not new. For 11 years, the superintendent and CFO had that threshold. So we're still operating from rules and guidelines that were established 10 years ago. That's just because I heard some things. This is not something that we instituted.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes, Ms. Scott.
Yes, I do realize that this is in place, and I do realize that the Board of Education does see the check registry. Often when I question regarding high ticketed items like C&G News or law firms, I simply get back an invoice, not detailed, of exactly what it was spent. For example, C&G News. And I would like to see this board be proactive about this, and maybe we could put it for repairs, 10,000, but for things like advertising and certain things, like I understand repairs and that, but I would just like to see us table this for further discussion, or specify for what we could use it, what could be spent, because I just, if I could get an invoice when I ask about it, for example, a detailed invoice, I just get the cost of it. I have no idea what's actually being spent, which is quite bothersome to me. And I've checked other districts. This is extremely high. Even bigger districts than us do not have this high of a threshold. That's it. Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else have any questions?
President,
Yes, Ms. Chambliss.
I was just wondering, so with the $10,000 threshold, is that a daily threshold, or could it be like multiple, like $9,000 checks signed in one day? Is there like a monthly,
It's
is there a
per
limit?
item. I'm sorry, it's per item. So it would be a specific item that needed to be over that threshold. It's not a daily amount.
There is some rules. You cannot, for example, and Edwina, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't say spend $9,500 this week on a certain vendor, and then a week later come back and spend $9,500 on the same vendor. That's considered the splitting. So within a 30, is that correct? A 30-day period, you cannot utilize the same vendor, because otherwise what you're doing is you're circumventing the board approval of up to 24,000. And so that would be considered invoice splitting, and that's illegal.
Yes, exactly. We have to bid at, for this year, 25,000. All the invoices, Gloria always asks, the treasurer always asks us for the detail, and we always provide it. And I want you to know that the difference between Madison District and several other districts is that we cannot spend anything but pre-approved items. Most districts, they spend the money first, then the board gets it after the fact. This is what we spent. So, to limit us like that, you're really shutting down our operations. There's many checks and things of that nature that we have to pay things that we have to pay, and to say that, you know, oh, just list 2 vendors and say that, you know, we need a $5,000 threshold when we already wait before we spend anything that is not already pre-approved. We get approval from the board. You know, most districts don't do that. So I can see if we didn't do that and, you know, we're putting that $5,000 limit on there, but we wait. So it's just really, we got to operate.
Right.
Okay,
Excuse me, Chair.
And I'm
Sorry, Rebecca,
sorry,
go ahead.
Ms. Chambliss, go ahead.
so, okay, so, and that makes sense. But so if, let's say that something was like abnormal or like raised a red flag or was questionable, but it was under 10,000, would you still wait and come to the board? Or?
You know, it really depends on what it is. We do have some pre-approved items. For example, you know, payroll and benefits, utilities, we can't wait a whole month. We come to the board every month before we spend anything that is not pre-approved to be spent already for approval to spend it. You know, so that's a very good internal control. Districts don't do that. They always do after the fact. They spend it first, then they get approval from the board, or the board is provided a check register and then gives the approval. So that's an excellent internal control. Anything else, you know, you're going to limit our operations and our ability to run as a district.
Madam President,
Yes. Ms.
I don't know
Thompson.
if everybody can see this, but every single check register, I will request certain invoices if they're close to any kind of threshold at all. For me, a threshold is $1,000. I look at that invoice, and if the detail isn't there, I ask for the detail. This was just from this check register. I spent a whole day going through just the check register and the invoices.
Excuse it. Chair,
Yes,
can I?
Mrs. Beaver.
Thank you. Gloria, not that I don't trust, and I know that you do an amazing job, and I know that it's a lot of work, but I requested that if you or anybody, even myself, if I'm looking over and there's an invoice or something that I don't understand on the check registry, that it be sent to all trustees, since we all have to vote on this check registry. I don't think, even though somebody has a title, like I'm still voting on it and putting my name on it. So I think that all trustees should be given the same information out. Do you know what I'm saying? As far as, like for instance, if I have a question regarding something that I don't understand on the budget and Mr. Abdullahad sends me something, I feel like it needed to be sent to the entire board instead of just one person, so that we're all on the same page.
Edwina, did you send that to Gloria?
No, not yet.
Requested it, and Joanne printed them for me.
Oh, Joanne printed it out for you.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know it didn't come through me. But we could honor that. We could honor that, absolutely. What Ms. Thompson requests as a treasurer, we don't mind sending it out.
And that's
Well,
what I say, you know, everybody gets a copy of the check register. Anybody can request to see what the detail on that check register is. All you got to do is call the board office and they.
Yeah, but Ms. Edwina had asked.
Wait,
sorry, sorry, Chair. Can I
Okay.
speak? Okay.
Go ahead.
Dr. Hill had asked that we do it a little, when we went through our orientation, that we have a little bit of collaboration to where I'm not asking the same question that you're asking and Ms. Chambliss isn't asking for the same invoice. So if we just kind of have that unwritten rule to where if Ms. Holder wants some information about something and it's sent to all of us, that way we're all on the same page and we're not kind of double working, Dr. Hill.
Right.
Yes, we have a small staff. Thank you very much. Just a little collaboration would be wonderful. We don't mind providing you with what you need, but you know, we ought to coordinate, you know, so, you know, as 7 of you, we have a very small staff. And we got to run, and I appreciate that.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes, who was asking? I'm sorry.
Beth.
Beth, go ahead, Ms. Scott.
Gloria, I do appreciate that you do. I know you do an amazing job as well. However, there are times that I request information and it's not given to me. I'm given an invoice that just has the amount. It's not a detailed invoice. So is there a motion, excuse me, Chair, is there a motion that we have to make to have this done if a board member requests an invoice, that it would be detailed and
Can I
and then
ask,
and the board, the entire board would be so that
I'll answer that in a second. Mr. Abdullah had wanted the floor. Go ahead.
okay.
you're speaking, I believe, regarding legal matters. So
No,
that's the only, Ms. Scott, that's the only invoice that I've seen that you've requested of me that gives you, is there another, can you give me another example of an invoice that you requested that did not have details as to what it was?
yes, all of
What was it?
C&Gs. All of
C-
C&Gs.
C&G's advertisement, right?
Yes.
And the board does approve a budget at the beginning of the year, which allows for advertisement, correct?
Yes.
I still
And you-
want it.
and you voted on that budget, correct, Ms. Scott?
I still asked for
Okay.
I asked for a detailed invoice. So
Mhm.
this is the problem I get. I'm only asking if I ask for a detailed invoice, whether it be C&G News. I know legal is limited to what they can
Mhm.
put on there, but there was something else that I didn't understand.
Sure.
I don't know why.
We'll be happy to accommodate going forward. Make sure you
Okay, thank you.
coordinate with Dr. Hill. Dr. Hill, I can request if you can copy me on the email to Dr. Hill. Dr. Hill, once you get that email, if you could copy me so then I could forward it to all the trustees. Does that sound
Okay.
good, Ms. Scott?
Are you
Okay.
asking that we send an email to Dr. Hill?
No, what
Is
I'm
that-
saying is if you happen to email her,
Mhm.
then just copy me so I could. If you end up emailing me and her, then I just want to be kept in the loop so then I could forward it to the other trustees. That's all I'm asking.
And can I say, we all want the same information. I don't think that that's an unusual request. So if for some reason Ms. Scott felt in the past that maybe it wasn't something, or maybe we misunderstood the question, maybe what was said and what was heard wasn't the same. So let's just try to be a little bit more cognizant, and we'll move ahead and just with the understanding that everybody should get the same information, and we're going to start a new year with a new face. The only other thing that I had is bylaws can't be changed
Right.
in one meeting anyway. It takes multiple meetings. So even we didn't get a second to table, which is why I didn't even address that. But this is a bylaw already. This is formality. So tonight we are passing this. If indeed in the future we want to look at this, it has been $10,000 because of emergencies, probably 20 years, but that doesn't mean that we can't ever go back and look at things that we've done in the past. But I want to know, are there any other questions before we call roll?
I would like just to
Ms. Scott?
add one. Thank you. Maybe we could email Gloria, because it might be something that Gloria has already asked and would know the answer. So if that would be better than asking Dr. Hill, maybe we could just send an email to Gloria and Mr. Abdullahad, or that way it wouldn't be tying up Edwina's time. Maybe just send an email to Gloria asking, because it might be something that she has already asked for and could share, you know, or Gloria, if you just automatically send it to all the board members, that way it wouldn't be taking up Edwina's time. Just a thought.
Okay.
Okay, I think we can talk about that and work it out, right?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. So, back to calling the question. We need
Motion.
motion and support, please.
I'll make the motion.
Ms.
Madam President.
Thompson? Yes,
second
Ms. Ott.
motion.
Thank you. And can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
No,
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
Okay. Next is to establish the meeting requirements, Bylaw 154-C. Meeting dates are subject to change due to district calendars and/or action items needing immediate attention and/or date-sensitive material. It is recommended that the Board of Education hold its regular meeting on the first Monday of each month at 7 p.m. virtually through Zoom until legally able to meet in person at Wilkinson Middle School. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I heard Mr. Holcomb, and the support was Ms. Thompson.
Thompson.
Thank
Ma-
you.
Chair, are we able to discuss this at this time?
We can after the motion's been made. There is discussion. Yes, go ahead.
So I just was wondering, so right now, with having these meetings on Mondays, there's a frequency where community members are forced to pick between the school board meeting and city council. I know prior to being on the board, I myself had to make that decision multiple times. And, there might be something in the district with my kids that is, I have to, come to the school board. That had to be my choice. But I was also missing out a lot of information from the city council meetings. So having our meetings on Mondays is a scheduling conflict. And I do know of a lot of community members who have the same decision that they have to make. So that the day is, if could we consider a different day? Could we think about trying to free up more community members so that we might get a higher attendance of viewers? Because I do know a lot of people want to be here.
Anybody
President?
else with a
Ms. Holder?
question? I'm sorry.
Ms. Holder?
Madam President,
Go ahead, Ms. Thompson.
didn't we address this issue already? And the city council, aren't they meeting on the second Monday of the month?
The second and the fourth.
at the fourth.
Yeah, and
City
we do it
council
on the
meets on the
first
second and the
Monday,
fourth.
so there really shouldn't be a conflict.
They're
Right.
meeting tonight.
Yes,
Yes,
Ms. Chambliss, you can
second
have the
Monday.
floor. Thank you. That's because our meeting ran late. It wasn't the first Monday of the month because of the holiday. Typically, they don't overlap. Mr. Holcomb, did I hear you asking for the floor?
No, I was just saying they have theirs the second Monday and this is the second Monday. We should have had ours last Monday.
Right.
Well,
Is there any other questions or comments?
Yes, excuse me, Chair.
Ms. Scott?
So I have a couple of concerns. Wilkinson Middle School, are we talking the cafeteria or are we talking the library?
Cafeteria.
Okay, so Wilkinson Middle School, whether you're in the library or in the cafeteria, it's very hot in the summertime. I mean, I think one time we had several fans going, then you couldn't hear people. We're gonna have to be dealing with social distancing for a long time. So I can't see, we're gonna shove all people, try to socially, we're gonna limit how many people are gonna be able to be in the cafeteria, where I think we're allowed up to 500 people in the auditorium at Madison High School. I think we should just, and the comfort alone, the comfort at the Madison Auditorium. So if it's possible that we could think about this in a couple of months when it comes closer to summertime to bring this back up, because this is a problem, the heat and social distancing, this possibly could create a problem for us,
Okay,
in my opinion.
all righty. Anybody else have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, can we call the roll, please?
Ms. Scott,
No,
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
You, moving on. Safe deposit box bylaw 154-D. The district does not currently own one, so there's no action needed. Next, charges for request of board meetings bylaw 154-E. The Board of Ed doesn't currently have a policy in regards to how much a meeting notification would be. Sorry, so no action needed. Next one, study sessions. Board of Education does not currently have a specific day and or time set for study sessions. No action needed. Next, designation of administration to assume specified responsibilities of the treasurer and secretary bylaws 154-6. The board designates the CFO to assume the specified responsibilities of the treasurer and the pupil accounting manager to assume the specified responsibilities of the secretary. Bylaw 154-G, designate. Bylaw 171.4, treasurer. Bylaw 171.3, secretary. It is recommended that the Board of Education designate the CFO to assume the specified responsibilities, of the treasurer and the pupil accounting manager to assume the specified responsibilities of the secretary. Do we have a maker and support for this motion?
I'll support.
The motion.
Did I hear Ms. Scott and Ms.
I'll
Thompson?
support.
Okay, so we will do Ms. Scott and Ms. Thompson is support. And do we have any questions for discussion? Hearing none, can we call the roll, please?
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next, designate the electronic transfer officer, ETO, bylaw 154-H. The board designates the CFO to assume the responsibilities of the ETO. It is recommended that the Board of Education designate the CFO to assume the responsibilities of the ETO, who is authorized to invest school district funds and make fund wire transfers according to the Board of Education policy. Can I have a maker and support for this, please?
I'll support.
I'll second.
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Scott is making the motion. Do I hear support?
I'll support.
Thank you, Ms. Chambliss. And is there any discussion? Hearing none, can we call the roll, please?
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Authorization of legal counsel. The following firms, as well as Oakland Schools ISD, are to be used for the 2020-2021 school year. Luskin Albertson, Clark Hill PLC, Troon Law Firm LC. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the above firms to provide legal services for the district. Do I have a maker and support?
Madam President, I'd like
Ms.
to make
Ott,
a motion.
and support?
President, I'll support.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. And any questions?
I would like to ask, excuse me,
Ms. Scott, go ahead.
I would like to know if we could read these and vote on these separately.
guess. Is there a particular reason why? I'm just wondering.
Well, yes, because I think that the board should, I don't think we should be forced into having the same firms. I think we should be allowed to research, or could we table this? I'd like to research, and are there other law firms out there? I don't know why we have to keep voting on the same ones.
Okay. And anybody else have a question or concern?
Madam President?
Ms. Zach, go ahead.
Yes, I remember we discussed this. I don't know if it was last year or within the recent months, but I thought Mr. Abdullah had explained to us as the board that each individual law firm that we have, they have
Does
their
different
unique,
tasks.
yeah, they have their unique tasks. Some can do some stuff for the board, some can do some for a student perhaps. That's all
Okay.
Mr. Abdullah, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Urban has his hand up.
Ah, there we
Madam
go.
President, I just wanted to clarify something. Lusk and Albertson actually merged into the Grand Rapids law firm Millage Johnson. So
I
just,
can't hear him.
Yeah,
So
it's
just-
very difficult to hear him.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. Lusk and Albertson actually merged into the Grand Rapids law firm of Millage Johnson. So just to be technically correct on your panel of law firms, instead of Lusk and Albertson, you would say Millage Johnson. It happened-
Miller Johnson.
Miller
Johnson,
Johnson.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That happened about 2 months ago.
Okay. No, we want to do this as accurately and correctly as we can. So Ms. Ott and Ms. Thompson, can we change that instead of Lusk and Albertson to read Miller Johnson?
Yes.
Yes, I will amend my motion.
Thank you. And we'll continue with discussion. Anybody else have questions, or does Mr. Abdullah have something that he'd like to say or add?
There's a reason why the majority, 90% of school districts use law firms that are the same ones that we utilize, is because they have a thorough understanding of education, board policy, in school law. And so even though there are a lot of law firms out there, these are the best ones that represent and help ensure that this district stays out of legal trouble. And the reason there's 3 is because it doesn't hurt to have as many on retainer. Plus, again, strengths and weaknesses and different opportunities and different availabilities allow us to utilize different law firms.
Okay, and I guess I just have a question. We used to have in the past a designated attorney for the school board, separate from the district. It doesn't seem like we have that now, correct? We kind of have what's the word I want to use? It kind of a combination.
Yeah, so Madam President, all these law firms are legal counsel to the board. Do you have a standalone only for the board? I seen it happen when back in January of 20. You did that once before where you had a certain counsel for that, but all 3 firms are your legal counsel.
Okay.
And the board president has access to all of them, and they're your legal advisors.
Right, okay. I guess I just wanted clarification because it's been a little while and everybody needs clarity. So, are there any other
President?
questions or concerns?
Madam President,
Yes, go
I
ahead.
would just like to say that all 3 of these law firms are for the BOE, but not for personal,
Ah, good point.
only for Board of Education business.
Good point.
School
And
district
they're not
business.
to be utilized by everyone on the board.
Correct.
We have 1 representative. No, good point. Thank you. Any
Madam
other
Chair.
questions or concerns?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Ms. Scott, go ahead.
Okay, so here's the confusion that I have. So I thought that Clark Hill was specifically Board of Education attorney. Is that not true, Mr. Abdullahad?
They're all your attorneys. They're all
No.
Board of Education attorneys, all three of them.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying that there was one, like, Madam Chair had said, we've always had one that was dedicated to the Board of Education only. So I still was under the impression that Clark Hill was for the Board of Education only. So that's what I'm saying. So, and also, are you saying that there's no other law firms out there that represent school districts? So
That's-
every year
That's what I'm
we have,
saying.
so every year we have the same attorneys. There's no other options out there that represent school districts.
There's a benefit. My recommendation, Madam President,
Yes, go ahead.
there is a benefit to understanding the history and culture of a district and understanding the ongoing, if we're having, for example, mid-stride, if we were to change and say you decided you didn't want Troon anymore. However, Troon's representing your pupil accounting defense with the state of Michigan. So certain things you can't change mid-stride. So if the board arbitrarily says, all right, we're going to change law firms, then you got to onboard a new firm that is completely unaware of the history of the district and what's going on in the district. So to change things mid-stride is very hard to do, and it's not my recommendation to do.
Okay. And does anybody else have any questions or concerns?
Madam Chair, I just had a quick question.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Chambliss.
Was the district like aware that Luskin Albertson was going to merge with Grand Rapids firm? Like, does it change anything? Does it alter anything? Are they still the choice firm that the district would recommend?
Mr. Abdullahad and Dr. Hill, one of the two of you.
So
could,
he
answer that.
did notify us, so they're just being absorbed in the name change. But we have utilized them, and it wouldn't change anything because you already made the motion change. So once you made the motion change and you adopt those three, to us it's still the same. They're the least out of the three firms. They're the least ones that we utilize. We utilize them
Chair.
specifically for student discipline regarding student and legal matters and things like that. But we hardly utilize them.
Okay. Was that Ms. Ott that I heard asking for the floor?
No, that
No,
was me.
no, Madam
I was
Chair.
just,
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms.
Sorry.
Weaver, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just letting you know that Mr. Urban was kind of trying to flag you down.
Oh, I can't see anybody but myself, so thank you.
That's okay. Yep, no problem.
Go ahead, Mr. Urban.
Can't hear you.
No,
We still can't hear you, sir.
Mr. Urban, we still can't hear you.
Try to mute and unmute.
There's not even an option to.
Oh, yeah.
When we do
Well-
it to ourselves, it's difficult.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead,
while
Ms.
Mr. Urban is figuring out his volume, if you go up into the left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see gallery. And if you hit the gallery, then you'll see all of our wonderful faces.
I don't see gallery. I see participants, but when I hit that,
It's just the list comes up, yeah.
yeah.
It should be on your left-hand screen.
It's
Yeah.
in your
Left
left-hand screen, and it'll be
Yep.
like a square with a bunch of squares.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I said.
There you go.
thank you.
And
Yeah.
there we are.
Thank you.
Sarah, try to unmute Joe Urban now.
Yeah, I just sent him a unmute request.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This is all still so new.
I think he's been
He disappeared.
booted off.
He logged out. I'm sure he'll log back in. Do you want to proceed until he gets back?
Yeah, I guess if we have any other questions or concerns, let's handle them while we're waiting for him to come back. Anybody else? No, I guess, the only thing that I would say is if indeed we ever came up with or had a reason to look for another law firm, we could always add them. But I think that the background in the familiarity, it of our district with them specifically does aid us. It's like going to anyone else. How much money are you going to spend to catch them up? So that's just my thought on it. And like I said, if we ever come to a time or place where we, for whatever reason, think we need to add someone, then I think that the board would vote on that and do it, and whatever that process would look like after.
I think Mr. Urban is back.
All right, there he is.
Oh, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I had a little trouble. I tried dialing in with my phone, but this will work. Yeah, two things. One, didn't want to throw a monkey wrench into it. Lusk and Albertson, they may have merged, and I apologize for talking about another law firm, but it's the same people and their office in Detroit is the same. I didn't want to confuse anybody. It's just a name change. You can talk to them about any other aspects of it. And then secondly, I just wanted to make sure that the board understands that our engagement is with the Madison District Board of Education. We do not see our engagement, nor are we engaged by any specific member of the board. We represent the board as a whole and the district as a whole. So just so you know, we scrupulously avoid taking sides.
Got it. Thank you. Anything else? No, I don't see anybody else asking for the floor. So I'm going to call for the question. Please roll call.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Miss Chambliss,
No.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Miss Scott,
No.
Mrs. Ott.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the auditing firm. The following firm, Plant Moran, has been contracted to Madison District Public Schools to audit the basic financial statements and single programs for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. It is recommended that the Board of Education approves the firm Plant Moran as the district's auditors for the 2021 fiscal year. Do I have a maker and a support for this motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Mr.
second.
Holcomb,
I'll support.
thank you, Ms. Scott. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Miss Scott,
Yes.
Miss Chambliss,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next, approval of the minutes from 12/7/2020 regular Board of Education meeting. The meeting's minutes are attached. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the proposed minutes from the 12/7/2020 regular Board of Education meeting as presented. Do I have a maker and support?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Scott?
I'll support
I'll-
it.
I didn't hear who.
Miss Chambliss,
Thank you, sorry. I will get to recognize voices, I'm just not quite yet. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Miss Chambliss,
I'll abstain from voting. I wasn't a board member then.
You actually can't abstain. Our bylaws don't allow for abstentions only under very confined circumstances. And an abstention is a no. It's gone on in the past, but it really is not a bylaw. It is a bylaw that abstentions
no.
are no's, first of all, and that abstentions, there's only a few reasons why you would want to
Abstain.
say no. So you are more than welcome to say no. I'm just saying you really can't abstain just because you didn't make the meeting. Mr. Urban, do you want to clarify? Am I wrong?
He's muted again.
No.
I'm unmuted, got it. It looks like I'm looking up to the sky for guidance, but my camera is actually on my desk. I apologize. But no, there's actually an Attorney General's opinion that says that the circumstances under which board members can abstain are very, very limited, and that's what's reflected in your bylaws. Abstentions tend to only take place when there's a specific conflict of interest.
Right. So in this particular case, those of us that weren't sitting, we still, a yes is not an inappropriate vote.
That's true too. As long as you don't suspect that there's any, you know, the minutes are public documents, as long as you don't suspect there are any issues, but you can always vote no as well.
Correct. And I watched the meeting, so I know I can compare what I saw to what I read. So, okay, thank you very much, Mr. Urban. Anybody else, any questions? Oh, we started roll, didn't we?
Yeah.
Roll call, sorry. I apologize. Ms. Chambliss, did you want to change your vote to no, or do you want to say yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mrs. Zott,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
You. Next on the agenda. Hang on one second, I'm sorry. I went through, I'm old school, so now I'm catching up on paper. I apologize.
Madam President?
Yeah, go ahead.
This has nothing to do with, well, it does, and I think Sarah will agree. Can we just ask to be recognized before we say yes or no, or make the motion or whatever? It's easier to take notes when
You know who's talking.
when you don't have 5 people of us, talking at the same time. Just a suggestion.
Okay, wait, what, I'm missing the point, I'm sorry.
I was simply saying that if you want to make the motion or second the motion, can you be recognized by you first so that Sarah and I
Oh, yes,
get the right
absolutely.
person? Okay.
Absolutely. I am open for any kind of movement to make this go smoother. Okay, is the consensus the next is first reading of the policy 2266, is that right?
Excuse me,
no.
Chair.
Yes, who's asking?
This is Crystal. We didn't
Crystal.
vote on the
minutes.
meeting minutes from the special board meeting.
That's what I'm asking. I lost.
Page 26, Madam Chair.
Oh, my filing system, I think, is a little different than yours. So give me just 1 second. I apologize for the delay. Actually, can we just, can someone make the motion while I'm figuring this out?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'd like
Ms. Scott.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the special Board of Education meetings from 12/14/2020.
Thank you very much. And is there
Madam President,
support?
I'll
Mr.
support it.
Holcomb? Mr. Holcomb supporting. And is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Go ahead, roll call, please.
Mrs. Zott,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, and
Now we're on page 34.
yeah, now we're at first reading, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone's patience. First reading of policy 2266, non-discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs or activities. The draft of policy 2266, non-discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs or activities is attached. This is a new policy that entered into law August of 2020. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the first reading of policy 2266, non-discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs or activities. So can I have someone make
Madam
the
President?
motion, please?
Madam President,
Yes,
Um,
Mr. Abdulahad.
we actually updated the agenda. No action is needed on a first read. I did send out an email, so there's actually no action that's needed.
Thank you. Sorry, I missed that. Okay. One more. And next on the agenda is.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Could
Sure,
this,
go ahead. Ms. Scott, go ahead. You have the floor.
Mr. Abdulahad, could the policies, when we do the first read, could they be uploaded to the district's website with the corrections or the strikeouts? Could we put the first read up, second read up so that,
Only the Board of Education is allowed to view the draft. So we can't put the drafts up in our Neola policies, because Neola policies, once they're adopted, we have to send out an email and to Neola, then it becomes public.
Right.
So right now it's the first draft, so you can't really, you have access to them as a trustee if you log in to the.
No, right, I understand that, but
Mhm.
so we don't even read them? We're not gonna read them publicly or anything?
Not publicly, but you've been given 5 days to.
Right,
to
I
read
understand.
them.
We can read them. I was just wondering, do we read them to
It's
the
over
public?
30 pages. It's over 30 pages. in length.
I know, that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm ready to move on. Is everybody else?
Yes.
Revisit extended COVID-19 learning plan. Every 30 days, the Board of Education must revisit the district's extended COVID-19 learning plan and take action. It is recommended that the Board of Education take action to either extend remote learning for an additional month or authorize restarting and phasing in of in-person instruction.
Madam President, did we?
Yes.
Did we skip a part because we didn't give you the
We didn't do the
superintendent's report?
Hang on, I'm sorry, I don't hear you. I didn't understand what you said, Mr.
Okay,
Abdullah. I'm sorry.
I was just looking at the agenda. I thought we had superintendent's report and then underneath that presentation from PFM and then my COVID update and then the board takes action.
Yes.
I'm not sure. Whatever your agenda says is where we'll go next.
Okay, so under 6.
So the next thing on the agenda is what? I'm sorry.
It's the superintendent's report.
Okay.
6A presentation from PFM, and then after that, 6B COVID-19 update, and then the board.
All righty.
Number 7.
You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Sarah, can you make sure RJ's unmuted?
There's no option for him, for me
okay.
to mute him.
Oh, okay, all right. So RJ, I have your presentation. You want to briefly introduce yourself to the board and then discuss the, are you going to utilize the PowerPoint first? Is that the first one that I'm sharing my screen with?
He's not connected to audio.
Oh,
Yeah, he is not, I think, trying to. There you go.
all right, now you're connected to audio. You got to unmute, RJ.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
PowerPoint first?
Yeah, PowerPoint first.
Okay, let me just go to share my screen.
Good evening.
Sarah, I gotta let, you gotta let me share my screen, Sarah.
I just did.
Okay. Trustees, can you see this?
Yes. I hear an echo. Does everyone else hear an echo?
No.
I can see it.
All right. Good evening, I'm RJ Naughton, I'm with PFM. Just checking my phone audio. Okay. Is this better?
No. Now he's muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry for that. I'm RJ Naughton, I'm with PFM, Financial Advisory side of PFM. I had worked with the district on the past bond projects. And I'm here this evening to discuss the bond refinancing opportunity and also a possible 2021 bond proposal.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I can barely hear him.
Okay. Ms. Scott, duly noted. Is there a way that we can get it a little louder, please?
And I am hearing kind of a echo too. So maybe if we all shut our mics off, maybe he'll sound better.
Oh, okay.
RJ, can you put your volume up?
Yes. I will put my volume all the way up. Is that any better?
You sound very muffled.
Okay, I'm going to try to switch to phone audio. I may have to.
That's better. Whatever you just did now, you sound fine right now.
Okay, wonderful. Good evening, I'm RJ Naughton, I'm with PFM, the financial advisory side of PFM, and I had worked with the district on the past bond projects. I'm here to go.
Madam Chair, I still cannot hear him. He sounds
Okay.
muffled to me.
Is anybody else having difficulty hearing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He started off strong, but yeah.
Mr. Abdullah had any suggestions as to what we can do to make this
Yeah.
better?
RJ, you want to call in through your phone? There's a phone number there on the Zoom link.
I think that might be the problem. He's connected to audio in two different places.
Oh.
RJ, are you attempting to fix or are you just waiting? You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes. And can you speak up louder and you, whatever you're
Yes.
doing, you sound
Yeah,
muffled.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead. Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Hear me? Should I try to dial in again?
Can everybody hear him now?
I hear an echo.
That was, I think that was a Zoom bomber there trying to be.
Yes.
So I don't know if he's trying to present through this 248 phone number or.
Yeah, I could tell you his phone number, so make sure, give me the last four digits of his,
3100.
let me just see. That's not him. I don't think that's him. 1446.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes,
This is Beth Scott. Angel,
yes,
can,
Beth.
Mr. Abdulahad, can you call him?
But if I call him on my cell phone, then I don't know how well he'll sound. I really need him to.
No, I'm asking, can you make a phone call to him to see if he's on or?
Yeah, sure. Let me try. RJ? Okay, are you attempting to log in? Uh-huh. Okay. Use the phone number in the meeting ID that I sent you and in the email. And what's happening is you sound nice in the beginning and then it starts being muffled. So I'm not sure if you're using a mic or a headset or not, but you're coming in and out and trustees can't hear you, and I really need them to be able to hear you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience as we're trying to work out these kinks.
He's going to try to dial in. It's 1446. He said he had hard time. The meeting ID said it was incorrect, but I'm not sure how it's incorrect if we're in here right now.
All the rest of us are here. Oh.
And it's not at capacity. We're only at 85 people.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
this is Beth Scott. I may have to stop my video just so everyone knows because I have to give Amelia her medication at 8 o'clock, just to let everyone know. It
are we
doesn't mean I
close to that now?
I may have to stop my video to give Amelia her medication, but that doesn't mean I can't see or hear anyone.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Thank you for
I
that.
just wanted to let everyone know if we came back and you didn't see my picture, I'm right here. I don't want her on the camera.
Okay,
Okay.
no, thank you
Just
for that.
full disclosure.
Do you, Madam
Hello?
President? Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
My apologies if I accidentally had both audios on.
All right, I have to.
Okay, go ahead. You have the floor.
All right.
Okay. My name is RJ Naughton. I'm with the financial advisory side of PFM. I had worked on your past bond projects, and I'm here today to discuss a bond refinancing opportunity, also a possible 2021 new money bond proposal. We can move on to the next slide. There is an opportunity to refinance the 2013 school building and site bonds with a new refunding bond. And how that works is those bonds were issued in 2013, and the first call date is May 1, 2023, which means maturities 2024 to 2043 are eligible to be called in before their stated maturity date on May 1, 2023. It's possible to issue a refunding bond today as a taxable bond issue and use the proceeds to buy Treasury securities that are set up into an escrow account that call that principal in May 1, 2023. So effectively, you're replacing bonds that were issued at a higher interest rate with new bonds at a low interest rate. This refinancing is similar to refunding of a mortgage. And it doesn't require a public vote. It does require a bond authorizing resolution to be presented to the school board. The true interest cost of the principal to be refinanced is 4.17%. The estimated true interest cost of the refunding bonds is 2.37%. So a sizable difference in interest rates, and the estimated difference in interest costs is $1,156,690, with a present value of just under $906,000, or just over 10% of refunded principal. And if we move on to the next slide.
So RJ, just if you could clarify to the board, this is similar to refinancing a house, a current mortgage from a higher interest rate to a lower interest rate, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so just want to make sure that the trustees, and the $1.1 million savings is from going from a higher rate to a lower rate, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And these bond payments are covered by property taxes as part of the debt levy tax receipts. So the true benefit is to the community, and that's shown on this next slide here. And this is a chart showing the blue line, the millage projection before the refunding, and the green line, the millage projection after the refunding. Now, in May of 2021, the school district is repaying their last loan payment to the School Bond Loan Fund program, the state's loan program, and the debt millage is being reduced from 7.76 with the 2020 levy to much lower with the 2021 levy. And it's projected that after the refunding, the 2021 levy would be 3.96 mils, provided that refunding occurs before July, because that's when your levy is set, actually before June. And so the estimated 2021 levy after this refunding is 3.96 mils. So that is a 3.8 mil drop from the 2020 levy. And depending on how we structure the refunding, the millage is projected to drop for your existing debt down to 2.36 mils the following year. So that's an additional 1.6 mils from the 2021 levy to the 2022 levy. Now, when we amortize the principal for the refunding bond, we have some flexibility. And part of that could help us decide on what debt levy to target for 2021 and how much of a millage drop to have with 2022. And we may want to take into consideration the possibility of the school district to have another voted bond issue. Because if we structure this refunding the right way, it could better accommodate your next voted bond issue. And I'm about to show you how that works. So on the next slide, now we're switching gears a little bit from the refunding opportunity to a possible August 2021 bond proposal. And this is just an example, it's preliminary. And this example is for the estimated bonding capacity at a no mill increase from the 2021 levy with the bond proposal in August of 2021 after refinancing of the 2013 bonds in March. And the estimated bonding capacity at a no mill increase from the 2021 levy is $11.8 million, of which an estimated $11,124,000 could be used for the project. Now, this bond, and this is just an estimate, would have an estimated millage in the first year of 1.6 mils. And that's with the first year millage for the new bonds with the 2022 levy. And that essentially replaces the millage falling off the existing debt of 1.6 mils for a net no mill increase. So the millage would be projected to continue at 3.96 mils for a few more years. And so again, that is a 3.8 mil drop from the 2020 levy of 7.6 mils.
So RJ, currently it's 7.76. doing
Yes.
the refunding and doing this new bond, it would, with, given all of that, it would still go to 3.96, correct?
That is correct.
So you're still giving,
7.76
can
to
you tell the
3.96.
trustees what they would be giving back to taxpayers? Going from
Sure, I
that
can give an
7.7?
example of that.
Yeah,
I'm glad you asked. So a mill is $1 per thousand of your property taxes based on, it's $1 per thousand of taxable value. And taxable value is estimated to be half the market value. So if the millage is declining by, I have this written down over here, 3.8 mils, and a home had a $50,000 taxable value, which is an estimated market value of $100,000. So that would be essentially 50,000 divided by 100 times 3.6, which is $180. So that's the amount of the decrease from the 7.76 to the 3.96.
so the board could go out for a refund. The refunding does not need a taxpayer vote. Could get an $11 million new bond and an average home of $100,000 with a 50,000 taxable value would get $180 a year savings. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
I'm sorry, are you done?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm done with that example.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So there's a significant millage decrease. It's actually 50,000 divided by 1,000, which is 50, times the 3.8 mil decrease is $190. And that's the amount of decrease estimated going from the 2020 levy to the 2021 levy after the refunding. And this new money would just be projected to continue with the 3.96 mils with the new bond issue. So this example is for an August vote, and the bond proposal would be prepared in early April. Was there a question? Okay. So with an August vote, the bond proposal would be prepared in April, and the 2021 debt levy would really not be official until late May or early June, because that would be after the 2021 taxable values released in late May. But however, even though we don't know for sure what the 2021 debt levy is when the ballot's prepared, we have an estimate, and the debt levy will be known before the election. So the brochures and the information provided to your community could be provided after the 2021 debt levy is confirmed in the early part of June. Also worth mentioning is this is an estimate on the maximum bonding capacity at a no mill increase with the bonds issued in 2 series, part of it issued in 2021 and the rest in 2023. But eventually there would need to be an architect engineer or construction manager that would provide project cost detail and a monthly draw schedule on how much to draw down, how fast to spend down those bond proceeds. And given that information, then we will be able to determine the bonding capacity and also whether or not the bonds are to be issued in series and the time between series. It is possible the district could have a no mill increase, but with a shorter term. This example has a 27-year bond term. So if we were to shorten the bond term, maybe your needs aren't as much as this, then we will be able to still have a no mill increase, but it will be a shorter bond term. Also, this is based on a few factors, and one of those factors is the result of the refunding. And if that refunding occurs before that ballot is prepared, then we will know at that time how those bonds are structured and at what fixed interest rate that refunding bond occurs at. And that would be done before the ballot's prepared. Next, I'd like to show you the chart that follows. And here is a millage chart showing the debt millage. And the debt millage is currently 7.76 mils. And that blue represents the millage for your existing debt, going from 7.76 all the way to 3.96 estimated after the refunding for your existing debt. And then projected to go down an additional 1.6 mils to 2.36 for your existing debt the following year. And if we replace that 1.6 mils falling off for the existing debt with 1.6 mils for a new bond issue, which is the red line, red part of the bar, then that is better way to show that this really is a no mill increase, because we have 1.6 mils falling off the existing debt starting in 2022 after that refunding, and we're just replacing that millage falling off with millage for a new bond issue. Now, in this example, the new bond is 27-year bond term, which is 5 years longer than your existing debt, and that's why those last 5 bars don't have a blue section. So this chart is very good at illustrating the fact that it's projected to be a no mill increase. I'd like to move on to the next chart, and if needed, we can circle back to these slides. This next chart are the passage rate for the school bond proposals. Overall, 70% passage rate. In fact, in November, there were 11 Michigan school bond proposals and all 11 passed. But overall, since November of 2012, 70% passage rate. But if we look at that closer, of those that were a millage increase from the current levy, 58% passage rate. And of those that were a no mill increase from the current levy, 92% passage rate. So significant difference in passage rate from a no mill increase to a millage, the proposal that requires a millage increase. And if a school district had a bond proposal at a no mill increase, then many times it is a window in time opportunity. And in this case, if the new bond is not issued before the July 2022 levy, then that opportunity closes, that window of a no mill increase opportunity closes, and that you wouldn't have that no mill increase opportunity. And I would say that's based on how we structure the refunding bond. So if we move on to that next slide, which are the election dates that would allow us to have a first levy for the new bonds in July of 2022. If the school district were to have a bond proposal in August of 2021, then we would be able to have the first levy of the bonds in July of 2022. Because the bonds would be estimated to be sold and delivered in November of 21, the first levy, July of 2022. Another possibility, November of 2021, we would still be able to have a no mill increase bond issue from the 21 levy, and also with a May 3 of 2022 election, would also be able to catch the July 2022 levy. Now, the district may want to give themselves more than one chance to pass a bond proposal at a no mill increase. And that's not unusual. And if if we were to look at the different combinations, having 2 attempts to pass a no mill increase bond proposal, the district could have an August vote and a May of 2022 vote, or a November of 2021 vote and a May of 2022 vote. But if you had an August of 21 vote, it would be too late to have a November 21 vote, because that would be after the preliminary qualification date for a November vote. The August election would be after the June 21 PQ meeting dates for a November vote. Now, if we could flip back to that just for a second, the filing deadline is when the bond proposal has to be sent to the county, and that's 84 days before the election. And this bond would need to be state qualified, and then that would require a preliminary qualification meeting with the state at least 30 days before the filing deadline. And with an August vote, it could be early April. And the bond proposal is prepared at the preliminary qualification meeting. And there would be board meetings required soon after the PQ meeting, and also just before the filing deadline in order to make this happen. The project scope would need to be finalized no later than a week before the PQ meeting. And the refunding would really need to be priced no later than maybe a week and a half before that preliminary qualification meeting. That way we know what the interest rates are in that refunding. We know how that refunding is structured when we are deciding on what that preliminary qualification package looks like. Now, if we move on to the next slide, the next step, the school district could lock in a PQ meeting date, a date with Department of Treasury, and that's arranged through your bond council. Not unusual for districts to lock in a preliminary qualification meeting date, because it, in your case especially, it's preferred to have a late PQ meeting on maybe the first week of April. And if to prepare for a new money bond proposal that's state qualified, you would also need an enrollment study, because that's part of the preliminary qualification application. And your bond counsel would help you set this up, or who to contact to do the enrollment studies. Also, with regard to the refunding bonds, because both of these sort of work in tangent, because it depends on how we structure the refunding in order to accommodate the new money bond proposal, especially if you want it to be a no mill increase. And that refunding would require a bond authorizing resolution to be presented to the board. And if you were to have an August vote for a new money bond proposal, then that preliminary qualification, that resolution for that refunding bond would need to occur soon in order to give us enough lead time to actually price those refunding bonds before the preliminary qualification meeting. So just to repeat, a bond authorizing resolution will be needed for the refunding bonds. And then we target having the bond pricing of the refunding bonds before the PQ meeting. And then we would begin steps to determine the scope of the project for the bond proposal. So that would require having an architect, engineer, or construction manager on board, and also deciding what your priorities are for what the bond proceeds would cover. And also determine whether a special board meeting is necessary for either soon after the PQ meeting or just before the filing deadline. And that depends on when the election is and when the PQ meeting is. So that was a lot of information.
That was. That's not an action item for today, obviously. I know I have some questions, but I'm going to open the floor to anybody else first. If you can raise your hand, so Mrs. Odd is right, we can at least designate who's doing what. So Ms. Scott raised her hand first. Ms. Scott, you have the floor.
Mr. Abdulahad, will you be sending that, this presentation to the Board of Education?
Yeah, if you would like this presentation, yes, I can send it to you.
Okay, so do you know when you'll be sending that to us?
RJ, are you okay with, yeah, I mean, you're okay with us sending this presentation? Yeah. So I could send that to you today after we're done with our meeting.
Yeah. If it's posted, I would suggest it posting the PDF version, but
Yeah,
the
I'll
PowerPoint
post the
or
PDF.
PDF version.
Okay, I'll
to
share
be
the PDF.
distributed.
Okay, any other questions before I ask mine? Mr. Holcomb, you have the floor.
When do we have to decide on this?
You know what, the timeline is up to us. He gave us reference point. But if indeed the board decides that this is what we want to do, there are different reference points. He's saying soon, but I don't know that I've ever heard the board before or now say that they were interested in running a bond. So let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's get the information and see where we're going is kind of my thought. But anybody else
I think
have
there's
a
two
question?
pieces.
Oh, Mr.
Madam President.
Abdulahad, go ahead.
I think there's two parts. I think RJ kind of mixed them, but there is a part where you're refunding, like you're refinancing, and that could give you like a $1.1 million. We don't have to go to taxpayers for that. And then what RJ is talking about is this new money, the new money bond. But I think those are two separate things. Refinancing brings you a savings. And then new money bond, that you have some time on that, but on the refunding, what is your timeline on the refunding? You got to break it down into the two separate things, RJ. For refunding,
Okay.
this is not new money from new money bonds, and it does not go to taxpayers. How much does it give the district as a savings, and what's the timeline on that alone?
Harold, can you put that?
Well, we know interest rates are low right now. So that refunding could really occur at any time as long as there's sufficient savings. Now, if the school district were to have a new money bond proposal on the horizon, it would be good for us to know at the time that we price the refunding bonds so that we can structure the principal accordingly in order to better accommodate the timing of your next bond proposal. So yes, the refunding works. There's good money, good savings at current interest rates. And before interest rates change, I'm not saying that they will, but we know that rates are low and there's good savings right now. That may be reason to do the refunding sooner than later. But at the time that we price the refunding bonds, and that's when the interest rates are set, and we decide how to structure the principal for the refunding bonds, it would help knowing the timeline that the district would, if the district is planning on going to the voters with a new money bond proposal. You could still do the refunding even if you didn't have a time on the horizon of going to the voters. But if that were in the near future, then we could better accommodate that new money bond proposal depending on how we structure that refunding bond.
And any other questions? Mr. Holcomb, go ahead.
Well, before we'd go to any kind of bond issue to the people, I think we would need to have a town hall meeting and with all the people there to see what they want, because I'm not going to make a decision for our voters. I want them to make the decision.
And any Ms. Scott, go ahead, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, wouldn't the board want to have study sessions about this?
I think when we're done with our questions, maybe we can come to a consensus of what kind of discussions we want to do next. I just wanted to ask anybody else about questions or concerns. I guess I'm going to go next since I have the floor now. There are, and I just lost it. There is a kind of, Dr. Hill, maybe you can help me. There is other kinds of funding out there for districts, for debt. Oh, I've lost it. I'm so frustrated with myself. But there are, this is not our only option, or these two are not our only option. There are other things out there, correct?
Yes, but they're limited. What we would really like approval to do is to refinance the bonds first, which would save us about $1.1 million. You know, we don't have to go to the voters for that, but it saves you because our bonds right now are setting at a higher principal rate. We want to refinance and get a lower principal rate. I believe it's 2.3%. And we don't have to go to the voters for that, but that'll give us $1.1 million. And so, you know, if the board could approve us to do that right now,
So
that
you,
would be
Madam,
wonderful.
Madam President?
Can I, but you didn't really answer my question. I understand what your preference is, but there are other options out there as far as what might be available. And I was trying to remember what Lanfair did not too long ago for,
a sinking
Mr.
fund?
Urban's raising his hand. So,
You know, this is for the scenarios that RJ prepared for us. You know, in terms of debt, you have sinking fund, which is, you know, you still have to go to the voters for that. That hasn't even been discussed or anything. These are the easiest options. You know, right now our bonds are setting at 7%. We're gonna
No, 4.17.
4.17. We're gonna lose it when it goes down because it's dropping off. And
Oh,
then
no, you're talking about, okay, so Edwina's talking about the mills.
yes, I'm talking
the
about the
mills.
mills.
hang on.
I thought
We have way too
interest
many
rate,
people talking, please.
7.76.
Please,
Right now,
Dr. Hill, you have the floor. Go ahead.
thank you. Right now, we're sitting at 7.7%, 7.76 mils for the debt. It's going to drop off soon, meaning it's going to decrease from 7.76 to about 4%. So that money is that debt money that we were getting to the district is going to go back to the voters, and that's good for them, but we lose money and we have facilities that need to be upgraded. That's this whole purpose. We're in a situation where this is dropping off. We're going to lose the opportunity for our bonds and things of that nature if we don't move quickly.
Yeah, if we don't do it, then the taxpayers will see that 4% tax reduction.
Yes.
Instead of 1.8 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
they see, 7.76 to 4%. So I think it's about a 3% reduction. The taxpayers will see it, and it'd be good if we didn't need anything, but we have facility needs.
Right, and that's why I said there's got to be other options. Mr. Urban had raised his hand. It looked like he might have a suggestion.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Urban, you have the floor.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. I don't want to steal RJ's thunder, but Board President Holder, I think I heard you say that we have other options. We have other options on the facilities needs potentially, but we do not have other options on the refunding. The refunding has a specific window that has to be undertaken if we're going to get the savings, and that's the window that I think RJ was talking about. There are other options for the facility, but if you do have pent-up needs, it may be worth talking to your construction professionals now to find out. I'll give you an example. I know it's not for Madison, but you know, if you guys had a bus garage that you guys had been putting off forever, you know, that may be something that that would be saleable. But right now, the one thing that you have a very limited window on is that refunding. So
yes.
Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
And you don't have to
Mr.
make a decision tonight. I don't think RJ's asking for a decision tonight. The window for that would be sometime, if you only decided to do the refunding, it would be sometime in April.
Got it.
I understood.
And Mr. Holcomb, go ahead, you have the floor.
Okay, if we do the refunding, all right, the millage is gonna drop in what, July?
Yes,
No? When's it gonna drop?
it will be set in June. It will be set in
June?
July.
Okay,
It's
so,
set in June, but the actual levy is July 1.
okay, and if we refinance, then how long does it go? That, well, we're gonna save this 1 point whatever million, how long are we gonna have to pay for it?
The bond term of the refunding bonds is the same as the bond term of the 2013 bonds, so it would go out to 2043.
All right,
So,
so it's gonna
Madam President,
expire in July unless we refi, or get the refinance, then it's gonna go 20-some years.
Okay,
Madam President,
go ahead, Angel.
Yes, I'm sorry. Angel,
Madam
go
President.
ahead. I'm sorry.
so I just want to be clear. You took out a bond in 2013. Your rate is 4.16. You could authorize us to say, you know what, let's refinance, let's refund it. Your term is the same. So you still have 23 years left on, or 22 years left. All we're doing is to go from 4.16% to 2.3%. That is a huge drop. So on the money that you have outstanding, which is $9 million, that is all we have in bond, you would save $1.1 million. You don't go to the taxpayers. All you have to do is do a board resolution, we refinance, and it's a done deal. And you're doing well by the taxpayers, because now you're giving them a lower rate because the taxpayers are paying the bond. So you that live in the district, you're paying 4.16% on the $9 million that the district borrowed on the behalf of the taxpayers. You are refinancing to 2.3 on behalf of the taxpayers. So you're telling the taxpayers, we owe 9 million, we're going to refinance it, and we're going to save you 1.1 million. That gives the district credibility with the taxpayers to show, look, we're trying to be good stewards of your money.
Right.
We're not going to them for anything. Now, you have a millage that's going to drop from 7.76 if you take no action on it. In July 1, it goes from 7.76 to 4 mils. The taxpayers are going to see that savings, but you'll never see that money back. What I'm recommending to you is to tell the taxpayers, look, 7.76 is going to drop. We will give you back 3.6 or 3.8 mil. We're going to give you this much back, but we do have some needs. So we would like to get some money in new bonds. Those are two separate things. We've done a facilities assessment. I will have that presentation. Those are two separate things. We really have a duty to take care of the buildings that we are overseeing, because these are taxpayer buildings. And if you had a house that was falling apart, at one point is the board going to say, we got to take care of our house, it's falling apart. The roof is tore up, the boilers are messy, we don't have AC, we're using electricity lighting from 1984. At one point, I just need to know the will of the board, and then I could drop this, but I'm just saying there are needs, and there are two separate things, and I don't think RJ articulated those. There's a refunding, you're refinancing, you're giving the taxpayers a 2% savings on $9 million they owe, and then there's new money bonds. Two separate things, totally separate. Hopefully that cleared things up.
Ms. Scott, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Abdullah, you said you had a facilities presentation?
We had a facilities assessment. I just met with them today. I asked them to send that to me so I could send it to the board so you could see. They asked would the board be interested in doing a site visit so they could see for themselves? I said, I gotta get with them. I gotta see with COVID what the comfort level of trustees to do a facility visit. But we've taken pictures and you'll have that by the 20th of January.
So by January 20th, we'll have the assessment and the presentation?
You'll have the whole presentation.
Okay.
Any, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought you were
That's
done.
okay. I just want to say that this is a lot of information and this presentation from RJ. Thank you, RJ. It's a lot to take in for a January meeting.
Yes.
With a closed session and officers, and this is a lot. So I would hope that this board would talk about study sessions for this. This is a lot.
Absolutely. That's why we're not asking you to take any action. We just want to kind of give you information right now.
But I would like to see some dates planned for this rather than just to let it go and hope somebody's going to schedule study sessions.
I'll set up some studies. First, I need to know their interest, if that's something that the board is interested in learning more about before I set something.
I think Chair is going to mention that, I think.
Okay, Mrs. Ack, go ahead, you have the floor.
Okay. I am all up for a refinance. I mean, it's just like refinancing your home. There will be, I'm sure, RJ, there will be closing costs or refinance costs compiled into that. But you have to remember, I'm going to be the Debbie Downer here. You have to remember that our city is imposing, they didn't do it last year because of COVID, but our city is going to impose, what did just pass, the millage just passed?
7%.
So it's something to consider.
Okay. Mr. Holcomb, go ahead.
No, I have nothing.
Oh, okay, sorry. I guess I had a question and I want to go back to my first statement. I understand what you're saying. I have been through this whole process with bonds, so a little more familiar than everyone else maybe, but I think that we also need to do our due diligence and see if there's any other options out there. There might be something that still gives us money to take care of the buildings and gives money back to the residents. I just want to know for certain, so before we vote, that we've done our due diligence and we have looked at what options might be available to us. It doesn't have to take a year to do, but I think we owe that to ourselves and to everybody that we represent. This isn't the only two options out there. And I guess I'd just like any other possibility. So when we do vote, we know specifically what it is we want to support and why. That's my thought. Anybody else have anything to say? Mr. Holcomb, go ahead.
All right, Angel, what were you talking about Lanphier? What did Lanphier do?
A sinking fund, I think, is
fund.
the term, but I could be wrong.
They have a
I
sinking
don't
fund.
remember now.
A sinking fund, what is that? Can you find out more things?
We can, but a sinking fund would be a new mill, a new increase.
Still a new increase.
It would be a new increase to the taxpayers.
Right, but it might be less than what they're going to be getting. I don't know what the money would generate. It definitely would be a reduction in property taxes.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would generate for the school district. That's why I'm asking, let's see what our options are. Because I truly don't know.
I know we need a roof and I know we need boilers and I know we need, we need a lot of work. I understand all that. So we definitely have to investigate what's best.
So if we could get, sorry, one more second, Ms. Scott, please. If we could get some information, just so we can compare apples to apples when we make this decision. It's a big one, especially for brand new board members, even people that have been sitting, but it's a big decision and I'd like to have all our options in front of us before we make a choice.
You got it.
Anybody else? Oh, Miss Scott, I'm sorry, I forgot.
That's okay. So would we need to make a motion to have Edwina and Mr. Abdullahad look for other resources? Do we give a time limit on looking for other resources, or how do we get this going?
Mr. Abdullahad or Dr. Hill, what kind of time do you think you would need to get the information to us?
I think Dr. Hill could get us all your different types of school bonds that are out there, or refinancing, or sinking funds, or Edwin, I'm sure you could do that. I have.
What I was about to say, yeah, there's a sinking fund option. It's a bond, and we do have to go to the voters for the sinking fund, and it's a bond. It's limited, you know, and
that might not be a bad thing with our history, though.
A sinking fund is more restricted than the regular bond that we're talking about, you know, and we're gonna lose, you know, we presented, you know, the bonds to you because we're gonna lose the mills back to the voters, and we're trying to capitalize on it. And, you know, that was our intent. You know, a sinking fund, you know, it is out there for school districts, school district loans, you know, things that you can do. You can go to the bank and ask for funding for this or that, but understand that it's limited. It's more limited than the bonds that we are trying to present to you.
Right.
Madam President?
Yes, go ahead.
Once these mills drop, you won't get them back. You're not going to get them back. And so you have to balance. That's why we attempted to balance. Yes, we have a duty to give to the taxpayers, but we also have a duty to educate our kids, and we also have a duty to give them a good quality education. I really think with the facilities assessment, I think if we do that, and I'm going to set that up, I will do a presentation. I will ask the architects to come in. Again, you're not making any decisions, but I will give you the data. We really have a duty. I understand tax. No one wants to pay more taxes. One, we're not presenting taxpayers with more taxes. We're telling them we're going to give them some money back. We're giving them some money back. We're trying to be good steward. But at the same time, your buildings are falling apart. The high school, I'll show you. I mean, it's no secret on all the needs. That's not including your other buildings. So it's a balancing act. You know, yes, you have an obligation to the taxpayers, but at one point, who has the obligation for the students enrolled in the district?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, and so we'll do a presentation. Will get more information. We're not asking you to. It is a whole lot to absorb. So we're going to give you all this information, and we will learn with it together, and then we could make a decision later on. Right now, this is all just absorb, and I'm sure you'll have a ton more questions, and we'll make ourselves available. And by the 25th, we'll have another presentation for you. You don't need a motion for that. We'll just do it. We'll have it ready on the 25th.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Holcomb, go ahead. You have your hand up.
All right, Ms. McNaughton, I think that's it, Naughton. You had your hand up. You wanted to answer a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed it.
Okay. Sinking funds are limited to up to 3 mills for as long as 10 years. So if 1.6 mills is falling off your existing debt with the 2022 levy, depending on how we structure the refunding bond, it is possible to replace the 1.6 mills falling off the debt and vote in 1.6 mills of sinking fund. However, because you're limited to 10 years, and also because sinking fund receipts are received each year and not all up front, like with the bond issue, you're not going to have nearly as much money with a 1.6 mil sinking fund than you would with a 1.6 mil bond.
Okay, now for this
Money.
refinancing, when do you need to know for the refinancing part?
Thank you.
Well, there may be some preference to have the refunding done before the debt levy is set for July 21 in general, so that you have that refunding done targeting a particular millage for the 21 levy and also possibly for the 22 levy. However, if the district were considering a vote in August of 21, then that refinancing would really need to happen in March. And that would move up the timeline even more.
Okay,
So if you were to have the refunding bond proposal done before the 21 levy is set in June, that gives you a little more time. But if the district wanted to structure the refunding a certain way to better accommodate an August of 2021 vote, then that refunding would actually have to happen sooner. And that would actually require having a bond authorizing resolution presented to the board soon.
okay. So Angel, you said the 25th?
We have a few things. I wasn't planning for this long of a presentation and just want to remind the trustees have a big decision and big discussion yet still to happen. We do have a meeting that we need for a budget amendment that we could give you more information, but I want to kind of keep you all fresh because you do have some other discussions that you have to do regarding back to school and some other things. So I wasn't expecting it to go this long, but I could have more information if the trustees choose on the 25th. And I could ask RJ to come back on the 25th where you have.
Is everybody going to be available on the 25th? That would be the first question. I see a lot of shaking of heads because we would want people available. Ms. Scott had her hand up and then we're going to move on. Go ahead, Ms. Scott, you have the floor.
So a couple things. The 25th is a city council meeting day.
Is it? Okay.
It's a city council meeting.
Okay.
So I'd like for us not to choose the 25th.
Okay.
First of all. Second of all, Mr. Abdullah, can you give the board any presentations? Can you give them to us prior to the board meeting? Is that
Sure.
possible?
Just in general or for this? I'm not clear what you're asking.
So he said that he would get the facility assessment presentation together. So if that's going to be a presentation, can you get that together for us and supply it to the board as well?
Typically, sometimes we want you to look at it fresh and we could do that, but I just want to just remind the board that sometimes stuff gets, presented to others before the board has a chance to discuss it at a board meeting. So I don't mind getting a presentation to the board, but it's just for that. It's for the board until it becomes public. And I just request that we adhere to that confidentiality when I do send stuff out, that we respect that confidence.
Perfect.
I'm sure all of us.
So
Go
the
ahead,
question,
I'm sorry.
So your answer is yes, you will have it to us before the board meeting, a few days before the board meeting, not like the day of or not or.
What I'll do is guaranteed you will have the facility assessment presentation by the 20th. Let me just look at, hold on one second, by the 22nd. And we would have to, I'll send out another email about if the 25th is not a good day, I could send an email about the 26th of January. I'll send out another email to see your availability on a board meeting on the 26th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Alrighty, I think we're ready then to move on to the COVID-19 update.
Thank you, RJ.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, RJ. And I apologize for taking so long. I didn't mean to rush, Madam President, but we do have, 85 people on, and we have about over 50 people on Facebook, and it's
Yeah, I know they're anxious, especially for the
Yep.
next item on the agenda, so no problem. Just
Okay.
wanted everybody to have the opportunity to ask a question.
Yeah.
So go ahead, please.
Okay, Sarah Cummings, are you available so I could pull up the?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, I'm just looking for a COVID update for them. No, that's not it. (2021) weekly COVID update. Come on. Sarah Cummings. All right, let me know when you could see this. Let me know when you could see this screen, trustees.
Yes.
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 All right, Sarah, it's all yours.
Okay, so these are our latest numbers from the health department. From December 16th to December 29th, and then the 23rd to the 6th. So the total confirmed and probable cases in Oakland County they're pretty stable, increase of 200 cases. So 3,409 up to 3,627. So back, just as a point of reference, back end of November, beginning of December, that number was in the 9,000s. So we're down considerably. Cases a day per million population, those are up a bit, 207. Again, back end of November, beginning of December, that number was closer, those were in the 500s. 14-day average daily case counts, those are pretty stable, 259. 14-day average daily death counts, that's down 1.21 to 0.36. The average tests per day are down to 3,800. Percentage of confirmed and probable cases, that's pretty stable, around 2%. Percent positivity has gone up a little bit, 7.7 to 9.0. Again, when our numbers were high back end of November, that number was closer 13, 14%. There's a little bit of bump right there, probably from the holidays. And still, we're another week out. We'll get new numbers this Thursday to see where that's at. So healthcare capacity is still stable. Testing, tracing, that's still strong. And the county level risk determination, we're still in an E. As far as the cases by age, they're up a little bit with the little ones, 0 to 4, 58. 5 to 9-year-olds, those numbers are down, 61 to 51. 10 to 13-year-olds, those numbers are stable, 78. And the 14 to 18-year-old teenagers, those numbers are up a little bit, 151 to 196.
Thank you, Sarah. Trustees, do you have any questions for our school district nurse?
Mrs. Ott wants the floor. Go ahead.
No,
Oh, sorry. Sorry. No questions? Okay. Go ahead. Shall we move on to the next item?
Ma'am.
Okay. I read this once, I'll do it again, just for prosperity. Every 30 days, the Board of Education must revisit the district's extended COVID-19 learning plan and take action. It is recommended that the Board of Education take action to do one of two things. Either remote learning for an additional month or authorize restarting and phasing in of in-person instruction. So we need a motion and support, please. Can I see a hand?
I'll
Chair.
take that motion.
Oh, Gloria Thompson wanted to make the motion and Ms. Beaver wanted to support. Which option are you choosing, Ms. Thompson?
Well, my question would be to Mr. Abdullah, what does he recommend?
It is my recommendation that we move to phasing in and restarting of in-person learning to for families that are in need.
Then that would be my motion.
Okay, and Mrs. Beaver, you concur with that? That's the
Yes, I'll
motion you
second that.
support? Okay, open for discussion. Ms. Chambliss, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Abdullah, so your recommendation that I received in the email was that you wanted us to vote to allow you and your team flexibility to restart and phase in for students coming into school, and that people that felt more comfortable keeping their students home could then again in like March have another opportunity to decide if they want to just staying home, or if they would like to at that time get into the buildings for school. And then that nearly all the CDC and the Oakland County Health Department highly recommended and requirements are being followed. And that even with the vaccinations, that won't change. We'll continue doing all of, exceeding expectations, exceeding like the minimum or, required.
Yes.
So is it for sure though that your plan still would remain that families that keep their students home right now can in March change their option and go in building?
So we met with the administrators today because they also have to ensure that operationally they could sustain that option. Because we also have to ensure that we have the spacing. So what we talked about today in the administrators meeting is that we're gonna make sure that we make a point of contact with every parent to help them decide. Now, will there be opportunities? There might be opportunities to revisit. Some people might change their mind. We might have more additional spaces available, but we're still trying to ensure that we're doing 3 feet apart from desk to desk, and from the last student desk to the last teacher desk, 6 feet apart. So ideally, what we would prefer is that parents make a selection now. We're not saying that we're not going to revisit. We're not saying that we're not going to revisit. We are going to revisit to see how things are, but there might be a chance where you don't have, there's no spacing available, in April for say a 10th grader, but there might be spacing available for a 9th grader. So ideally, we would want the parents to make a choice if possible now, even though we're not phasing in. So let me backtrack a little bit. We're not starting tomorrow. We are looking to begin special education on the 19th of January. We're looking for MES, WMS, and MHS to start on February 8th. So we are looking almost a month ahead of time. So what we're hoping is that parents take time to think about this now in the next month, and then make a selection if possible. And we're giving them till the 15th of this month to kind of decide to go to the town hall meetings. Will there be opportunities? We hope that there'll be opportunities, but can we guarantee a spot for every child in April that selects to go in person? We would have to see where the data takes us on that point. It depends. At that point, are we all vaccinated? Are we all, did the governor give us a different order, or did the governor retract some things? So we're just asking parents to be flexible with us.
May I have a follow-up question?
Okay, sure. Go ahead, Ms. Chambliss.
So and everything you're saying makes sense. I'm playing like devil's advocate. If in March or April we won't have room for, it's a possibility we might not have enough room, for students to come back at that time. What would happen if enough students wanted to go into school at this time? Would we be turning students away, telling them they can't come in?
No, I don't think we would. I think I personally would love if we had more people select in person. Right now, what the surveys are, what the admins are getting in survey, they're getting about a 50, as high as 80% at ECC on surveys of wanting to be in person, to as low as 40% in person at Wilkinson Middle School. And then the high school and the elementary is sitting around 50%. So right now we're fine at 50%. We could do a little bit more. That's why it gives us a little bit of flexibility while we're still having those 3 feet apart from desk to desk, and then 6 feet apart from the last student desk to the teacher desk. So we're not looking at a high selection of in-person, but we haven't gotten all the parents to fill out the survey either. And that's why we're calling each building is going to be calling parents.
Okay. Are you done, Ms. Chambliss?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Ms. Beaver, go ahead. You have the floor.
I just have a follow-up comment in regards to Ms. Chambliss's question. We're asking for flexibility from our parents to make a decision based off of the rest of the year, when in 3 months from now, when our 4th card marking starts, we're not going to be in the same position that we're in right now. You're going to have parents allowed, their kids allowed to go outside and do reading groups instead of being stuck inside all winter. They might feel more comfortable with that. And not only that, our kids are switching from, if we choose virtual for our students, they're switching from virtual to remote. So something that's working now for our virtual students might not be working, and they might need to make that change in April because their kid is falling through the cracks. And if we're not giving them that opportunity, yeah, other districts might be closed for new students right now, but I know for sure if my kid was turned away, if my kid was falling through the cracks doing asynchronous learning, I would remember that come the fall when it was time to register for school again.
I
just feel like we need a little bit of more flexibility because right now our virtual students are accustomed to something. They're accustomed to, if they have a question with the teacher, they can raise their hand and say, hey, can we slow down? Can we go over this? Once they're virtual and they're just tuning in over a screen, they're not going to have that same amount of learning that they're getting now.
I hear you. However, there are students that are dying to go back to in-person because what's working for some is not working for others. And we're also doing them a disservice because remote is not working for them. So it's a double-edged sword.
And I agree, but
Engagement district-wide is down. Engagement on district-wide is down, which what tells me is that the honeymoon phase of remote learning is over, and there's a lot of students and a lot of parents that are frustrated and they want to go back to in-person. So
I agree with giving
understand
that option, but it's not fair to our parents to make a decision for the next 6 months when in 3 months, a parent that may choose virtual may say, hey, this isn't working out for my kid. My kid is literally falling through the cracks. I have to have them back in person. And we're going to say, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have room for you. So I just think if we're asking for flexibility from our parents, we should also be flexible as a district.
and we're attempting to be flexible, but we also operationally, we have to set up schedules. We have to, I mean, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for us to set up schedules to ensure that students are getting the requirements at a high school level, to make sure that all the classes are balanced, to make sure our teachers are safe, that one class is not over capacity. It takes a lot operationally, and I get it. There is no right answer, right? When we make a decision, it might please one group, but it upsets another group. And for parents that are happy virtually and remotely, I got the equal amount of parents that are upset because, you know, socially, emotionally, their kids are falling behind. I mean, the data shows that kids are suffering, and we have a duty, we have an oath and a duty to take care of the well-being and academic well-being of a child. And I think that I'm not trying to preach. I just think that kids need that opportunity to go back in person. I'm sorry, Ms. Scott.
That's okay. Ms. Scott, go ahead. You wanted the floor?
Crystal, are you finished?
For now I am. I'm sure I'll come back to it.
Okay, just a couple things. So okay, the surveys that went out, those are for the rest of the year, Mr. Abdulahad?
I think the survey that went out is asking parents to make a selection for second semester.
Okay, so for the third semester, so we're gonna do another survey for the third semester?
Well, there's only 2 semesters in the year. Is the
No, I
first,
mean,
second,
that's
third
what I'm
part
saying.
mark?
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
mean that. What I'm saying is, that's what I'm asking. So you're asking parents now to make the decision for the rest of the year.
For second semester.
Okay,
And we're
well,
not saying that there might not be an option, but we would like them to be mostly sure, if possible, to make the selection now, because it helps us planning better.
okay, okay, it's a yes or no question. Are
Yeah.
you asking parents to decide now whether it's going to be in person or remote for the rest of this school year?
We're asking them to decide now, yes. However, we are looking for opportunities for flexibility and looking at case-by-case scenario.
Okay, hold on one second. So that's what I'm saying, that you're asking for flexibility for the school district, but we also have to look for flexibility for the parents. For example, when I attended the GRC meeting, one of my issues is how many truancy letters have gone out in the school district just recently? How many did you report to us?
A lot. You're asking me or the GSR?
I'm asking you, how many did you sent us an update and you said there was, I think, roughly 67, correct?
I don't recall, but yeah, I mean, that sounds.
Okay, so 67 truancy letters went out to parents and students during this COVID pandemic, which is causing, it's the second time they've gone out, which is causing more stress. So what could be working now for parents remotely, maybe in a month, may not really work for their kids. So are we gonna just let that students fall in the cracks continuously? And why are we sending out truancy letters at this time? And that's one of the things that we're meeting on Wednesday, because I brought that up at the GRC meeting. It's appalling to me that we are sending out truancy letters during this time, because has the school district done anything besides calling? I mean, are we calling? Are counselors calling?
So legally,
are you calling? I
legally, we have to. And not only are we calling, but we are also sending the police for welfare checks. And then we're also including Madison Heights Youth Assistance. So am I personally calling? You know, each building is taking care of that, but we have a duty to ensure that kids are safe. And so it takes a lot for us to set a truancy. What a truancy letter means that you as a parent have not caused your child to log in and Zoom for a period of time that is alarming to the teacher and to the building, enough to say, okay, wait a minute, we've not seen or heard from this kid, and legally as parents, we're obligated to send our kids to school.
Right.
And so if you're not sending your kid to school, we have to force you to make sure that you're doing your job as a parent. And it's not, I know, I get it, it's hard, but our job is not to accommodate the parents, but to accommodate the kids. Our duty and our oath as educators is to that child. And if you as a parent are not doing your job by making sure they're logging in, and I understand, people have to work. I get it. People have to work. People have to eat. But you as a parent have a duty to ensure your child is learning. So we stand behind our truancy. I mean, we have to.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking. So are you saying all 67 truancy children, if the schools called them and still couldn't reach them, every one of them have been sent to the police department or the Madison Heights Youth Assistant? Every one of them have been contacted, or somebody's gone to the house to check?
I would have to check with each building, but if they live in Madison Heights, they're referred to the Madison Heights Youth Assistants. But if they don't live in Madison Heights, then you can't refer them to Madison Heights. And then we have Oakland County, I believe his name is Otis, he's a truancy officer, and we include him. But there are different steps that we have to get to, and the building principals know that, and they follow that criteria.
And that's what I wanted to make sure, is that we're not, because these children these parents that decide to keep them home remotely, and we don't give them any other options. Children are changing. I'm sure everybody that has their child at home can say that weekly our children are changing. Things are happening with them. So if a child is doing fine now, might not be doing so great next month, and could have possibly someone in their household has passed away of COVID or something. And we're just going to say across the board, we're not going to take any flexibility of having students and taking case by case students, is what I'm saying. That's all.
Thank you. Mrs. Beaver, go ahead. You had your hand up.
My question's for Mr. Abdulahad. Can you tell us where the staff stands with us going back in, and are you going to go online and read any of the comments or concerns from parents tonight before we make our decision?
I could read them online real quick. Leslie had her hand up, Madam President, while I read the comments.
Well, he's,
Okay.
Madam President.
Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
While Mr. Abdulahad is looking, I know Sarah Provenzolo had her hand up.
I saw, and then she disappeared on my screen, so
okay.
I didn't know if she's still, she's back. There. Okay, go ahead, Sarah, you have the floor.
You got to unmute.
Oh,
Sarah.
I don't even know if it's pertinent right now, but I was just going to speak to the truancy a little bit more. That yes, we haven't taken action on truancy. Yes, it was one of the things suggested by Oakland schools, but you can't hear me?
No, we can. Scott is muted. She's just trying to wave.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. We do have a policy in the district. There's so many truancy letters that are sent home after certain amounts of days that students have missed. But also during this pandemic learning, there's multiple ways in which we count students and present. And I know that I have had conversations with parents whose students are struggling at home with attending to the Zoom meetings in a certain way. So we have, if they're present live in a Zoom meeting, but there's also student engagement. So if they're reaching out to the teacher, if they're doing work and there's contact made and emails made back and forth between the teacher, and we know what's going on with that student, that counts as an attendance. So we try multiple ways to reach the students. We understand it's a hardship for many families, and we are there to support our students and our families in any way possible. But we also need to make sure we're keeping track of the students that aren't, that we don't get a response from. So we do have to follow through with truancy. We are reaching out to youth assistants. We are seeking support if we need to, if we are concerned, from the police department. We are making phone calls home. We have a social worker that also makes phone calls home. The parents, the student, the teachers reach out, and the front office reaches out. So we are doing our best to keep track of students, but we have a lot of things in place, and there's a lot of ways we can account attendance aside from just being live and present in the Zoom meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Abdulahad, do you have what we were asking for?
So the comments on Facebook, and the phone just died. I read them. They said second semester is the same as end of the year. Yes, correct. Second semester is towards until June. One of them said my child has health issues. It's not fair. I just want to be clear to parents that are listening. If you're virtual and you're happy, we're not asking you to change it. We're not asking you to come in person. We're just asking this board to grant us the permission.
Excuse me, Mr. Abdulahad.
Set it up.
Rebecca Chambliss just left. I don't know if she lost signal. Can we pause and get her back in?
That was Sarah Moeller. Sarah Moeller, if you see her.
It had just flashed at the top of the screen that she had left the meeting.
Okay. Okay, so Madam President, do you want to?
Yeah, you know, I think go ahead and let's see if she signs back in. I'm assuming that she will, but
Okay.
go ahead and recap and we'll
Okay.
catch her up when she
So-
comes back.
We're not asking parents that are happy with remote learning to come in person. But we also have approximately between 40 and 50% of parents that want to come in person so far. So far, it could be more, but right now we're looking at 40 to 50% that want. We just want to be able to accommodate them. So although we're looking at the kids that are happy virtual and they kind of want to wait to let others test the water, there are others that want to go in person now. And I just want the flexibility for those parents that want to go back now to have that option for them.
And I'm going to ask a question, kind of piggybacks on what Mrs. Beaver had asked. I just want to know for certain with people trying to get the vaccination, you and I had a very brief conversation today. People are trying to get staff the vaccination that has been difficult to even get on the wait list a lot of times. So my concern is twofold. If staff is not comfortable coming back or having in-person school, they are going to have the same option that the kids do as far as teaching virtually as opposed to being in the classroom. I guess I just want to know, my daughter's an ICU nurse. I'm very familiar with some of the consequences and sicknesses that go with that. Some families can't have that. They have someone that's sick at home that's, you know, just a possible threat to them. So I just want to make sure we would not in any circumstance have a staff member that wasn't comfortable coming back being forced to come back, right?
No, no, that's not right. If the board takes action, you know, the majority of the teachers would have to return unless they either file for FMLA, Family Leave Act, or resign or quit. But there are special circumstances where they are working remotely, where that's feasible, but we can't give teachers that option district-wide because you just don't have the staffing for that.
Okay, and I guess that makes sense to me, but I have kind of a conservative opinion of this, and for safety alone, I'm thinking that I would like to put this still on the back burner and do remote till more people have the opportunity to be vaccinated. But that's my opinion. Obviously, you know, we're here to decide as a group what we want to do to move forward. Mrs. Beaver, go ahead.
Mr. Abdullah, where did our staff stand? And I know before the teachers union had came in and kind of gave their opinion. Have you spoken?
Well, Ivana's here. She has got her hand up.
Oh, I don't, sorry, I didn't see that.
If she wants to chime in.
Sure, go ahead.
She's muted.
There we go. Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Mrs. Holder pretty much summarized everything we were thinking as teachers. Teachers don't have a choice when the students choose to go back. So we will have to be in the classrooms with all of our students because they need the supervision. And as the vaccines are rolling out way slower than we thought they would be, we're just asking that you keep our safety in mind. We have teachers who are high risk. We have teachers with high risk family members in our households that we have to try to protect, and we do not have a choice.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Madam President.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Abdullah.
So I just wanna, I understand that. I understand, and we have been ensuring the safety and well-being. But there are several districts that are in session. They never stopped being in session. And there was no vaccine at that time, and they never stopped. And they're not only, they were only following requirements. We are following required and highly recommendations. The governor already set her decision on coming back either March 1 or sooner. The teachers and Michigan Education Association sent out a joint letter supporting the in-person learning. So I just feel like my job, it is to protect the teachers, but it's to advocate for the kids. I have to advocate for those students. We have 60 students that are nowhere to be found. They're not in other districts. And we don't know where they are. And we have parents that are calling me and they're crying and they're desperate because they want to go back to, they want their kids to go back, and there's no hope. And I can't sit here and not look at the whole picture. We need to ensure that kids have that opportunity. And it is, if we could go into Kroger and if we could go into other places and they remain in business, I am confident with all the precautions that we've taken, because we are doing, we're basically putting capacity at 15 to 16 students per classroom, 3 feet apart, face mask required, 6 feet from the closest teacher to you, face mask or KN95 mask to the teachers. What else can we do? We bought air filtration devices for every classroom that does not have a window. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on PPE. At what point are we going to say we got to take care of the kids too? I get the teachers, and I'm having their back 100%. But who's going to, if we're here always advocating for the adults, who's going to advocate for the kid? Who? I mean, if everyone, all the discussions here are adults, teachers, adults, what about the kids too? Who's advocating for them? I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. No,
I'm
I don't
sorry.
think any of us
I get
are-
emotional on
No, I appreciate your position, and that's why we asked. I don't think any of us are not looking at what's best for the kids. I think I understand the questions we were asking was more relegated to that. Okay, we're gonna try to get to the end of this and decide. Ms. Scott, you got the floor one last time.
Okay, I understand where Ivana is coming from. I can understand that. But I want everyone to realize our students will have been out for 1 full year come March. 1 full year. When we went to the GRC meeting, the Government Relations Council, Crystal and Rebecca and I, every school in the Oakland County is going back to school in person in some way, shape, or form. I can't understand how we would just take the teacher's side on it when our kids have been out for this long already. And
oh, she froze.
I'm sorry, I must have.
There you go. You're back, Beth.
I don't know where I left
couldn't
off.
hear you.
Okay, I don't know where I left off at, but I understand where some teachers are coming from, but our students have been out for almost a year. When Crystal and I went to the GRC, the Government Relations Council, Oakland County schools, every school is going back in person, some could be a hybrid form or something, but every school is going back, and many schools had been going back up until November. So I don't think it's fair for this board, for our school district to send out a survey to parents who over 50% want their kids to go back to school, and this board make a decision that are against what the parents are wishing. And really, the governor is saying, we need to go back, we need to think about this. So we're giving the chance, the parents still can decide whether they keep their students home or they send them back to school. But I need all of you to hear that the students are suffering. I am a parent whose student is suffering, and there's many more in this situation. We need to have some sort of care for the children and not just think about the teachers at this time. If we're willing to send students back and we're going to be doing the extra and going above and beyond, I think that the teachers, we're sending the students back. Nobody wants anything to happen to anyone, but our frontline workers, like Mr. Abdullah had said, the grocery workers, the fast food restaurants, Cindy, your daughter, I mean, those people don't have a choice. They have to go to work. That's their job. That is their chosen job. Teacher's job. They chose this job. Unfortunately, we're all in this situation, but our children deserve to go back to school if the parents choose that and their student is ready to go back and doesn't have health issues. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody who hasn't had a chance to speak that wants to say something before I call the question?
Eric, may I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
Real quick, I just wanted to say that if this comes down to where families can choose, it's a hard decision. It's hard to say, yes, I want to send my kid into a building. And it's also hard to say, I want to keep them home and risk them not having that social interaction. It's a difficult decision for families, no matter what they choose. But we do right now who can't pay their electricity bills. They're having financial difficulty because one parent always has to be home helping, assisting their children. And we need to be able to work with every family. The dynamics in this district are from both ends of the spectrum. So we need to try to give them a chance, and the best chance they have at a difficult time. This is unprecedented, it's difficult, but we need to be there for our families. And honestly, it breaks my heart to listen to Miss Ivana and think we have to send them back. We might, that they might have to go back. Trust me, I get it. My sister's a nurse, my other sister's a nurse practitioner, my family is all medical. I get it. It's difficult, it's hard, and it's hard to look at Miss Ivana and then turn around and say, go back to work. But at the end of the day, we do have families that need to be able to make this difficult choice, and we need to support them whatever they decide. I'm just saying.
Okay. No, I thank you. And with that, we're going to call the question. Sarah, go ahead.
Mrs. Thompson.
Can I ask which
What
one
are we
voting
voting on?
They, correct me if
Motion
I'm
was-
wrong. Go ahead, Ms.
You need
Thompson.
me to reread the motion?
The motion that I have is it's recommended for the board to authorize restarting and phasing in of in-person instruction.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's what I have.
And Mrs. Beaver, that's your support?
Yes.
Okay. Wait 1 second. Mrs. Zach, go ahead.
I am so sorry, Madam Chair. I know that it was touched on that, I don't know if it was ever brought up. If a teacher that is on layoff, or a parapro, or a secretary, or bus driver, and so on, if they're on layoff now, awaiting, say, the vaccine, and they don't feel it, that they're comfortable to come back now, will they be terminated?
Mr. Abdullah, my understanding was the possibility existed, but clarify for us, please.
So right now, no teachers laid off.
Okay.
So there is a possibility that someone is laid off and we recall them, because we're going to end up recalling people back, including custodial and stuff. Now, if they refuse to come back, if they say no, I'll keep my layoff, then you're choosing not to come back to work when the district's saying, hey, we need you. That possibility does exist. There's also possibilities where we could be flexible with a few people, depending on which bargaining unit they're in.
Okay.
But we really need all staff to be ready to support. We're going to need more staff to try to offset all the damage that have occurred in the last year, like Ms. Scott said. There's a lot of learning and relearning that has to be done. There's going to be a lot of new things that the kids have to get adjusted, and we need all hands on deck. We need, I think Rebecca said it, where we really got to, the only way we can navigate this is a one entire community together. We need all hands on deck. We owe it to the kids. There's an oath that we swear as educators at the back of my teacher certification. And we really, I can't go to sleep at night and thinking I cheated a kid, or God forbid, you know, so there might be a possibility of employment loss if someone refuses to. Yes, that possibility does exist, Ms. Ott.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that if they're waiting for their vaccine, and like we said earlier, it's slow in rolling out. But if they already, I don't know.
But Miss Ott, I'm in my vaccine, right? So I'm waiting to get it.
Right.
The other schools that are in session, they've been in session and there was no talks of vaccine. To me, vaccine is an icing on the cake, right? It's an additional layer of protection. But when I talk to Oakland County Health Department and they don't give me, when I ask them, when are you going to get more vaccines? And they say, we don't know. And out of all the vaccines that we get, 25% go to 1B essential workers. The other 75% go to elderly folks. Okay. And how many do you get every time? We don't know. How often do you get them? We don't know. Well, if there's 18,000 educators in Oakland County, it's going to take us probably to midsummer to get everyone vaccinated. So what do? We go and keep saying, oh, another 2 weeks until we're vaccinated. It's just, we can't operate like that. You know, we can't keep saying, because we don't have clear guidance from the health department on vaccination timelines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One more question to piggyback on that for breaking my own rule for calling the question, is now if people cannot, for whatever reason, medically come back with a doctor's note, that would be a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah.
Correct?
If they get approved for Family Leave Act, then they get a certain amount of, say we have someone that's pregnant, that's getting ready to, give birth. There's different scenarios. So I can't come here with a blanket statement saying, well, if you don't come back to work, you're fired, because that's not necessarily the case. People could go on leave, and then, and those leaves could be approved, right? Depending on that. So it's hard because it's case by case scenario, really.
Right.
It is case by case.
Right. I just wanted to put as much information out there as we could. Okay, so I'm going to call the question now. Thank you, Sarah.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
No.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Miss Chambliss,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott.
The difficult, I'm going to vote no.
Motion
And that
carries.
has nothing to do with me not putting the students before everybody else. Just, I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
Motion carries 5-2.
Thank you. And let's see. I know this has been a long meeting. I appreciate everybody's patience. Next up, human resources, recall of district employees. And Mr. Abdullahad would like approval to recall district support staff employees from layoff at his discretion upon board approval of the return of in-person instruction. The recall of employees will be necessary to meet the staffing needs of the district as in-person learning returns. District employees that are recalled to employment will be reported to the board each month on the Human Resources Personnel Report. It is recommended that the Board of Education grant Mr. Abdullahad discretion to recall support staff employees from layoff to meet the staffing needs of the district. Do I have someone to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Holcomb, and do we have support?
I'll support.
Thank you, Mrs. Beaver. Any discussion? Ms. Scott, go ahead.
Mr. Abdullahad, what would be your plan on returning an employee? Like, is it gonna go by seniority, or are you just randomly, are head custodians gonna go back to their building? Like, when you say to your discretion, what does that exactly mean?
The reason we were asking for discretion is because some buildings are returning quicker than others. And so we just wanted discretion, but we absolutely follow collective bargaining agreements. But the reason why we're asking for discretion is because, for example, if special education self-contained starts on the 19th, if on the 25th ECC begins, just hypothetically, then I'll need discretion on bus drivers and all that, instead of an actual resolution with names. We are meeting this week with HR and all the different union leaderships to come up with a game plan on building assignments. And the reason why we don't have a clear guidance on who's going where is because some people indicated that they would not like to return. Some of them would like to go on disability. So we're just trying to plan for everything in order to make sure we can run the operations of the district.
Okay, so you're saying that it's a possibility that employees will not be going back to their positions that they held prior to?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say, what if, let's just use the custodian. If you had a morning custodian that worked day shift, you would be able to move them to the afternoon shift at your discretion?
Well, that occurs anyway right now. Right of assignment is the district's right. So at any time, a custodian, I think if you have to give them 10 days, but right now their contract speaks to the right of assignment is ours, is the district's right of assignment. And we could absolutely move people as long as we give them time. What we're doing is trying to assess our needs and then making a decision what's best suited for the needs of the district. We're going to have to move more people in the afternoons to make sure the buildings are more thoroughly cleaned because of COVID. And so we need more hands on deck after school hours to make sure the desks are clean, bathrooms are sanitized, to do a thorough cleaning. We didn't have to do that as much before COVID as we have to take added precautions now with COVID being in the conversation.
Okay, that was my next question. So are you saying that currently we have a custodian in every building at all times when there's people in the building? Because we're supposed to be, like,
right
is there a custodian in the building when teachers or administrators or students are in the building? Is there a custodian on duty? Because isn't the executive orders like bathrooms be cleaned every hour or something like that?
Well, but we don't have staff that are reporting. The majority of staff are working remotely. I believe at each building, we might have 1 or 2 staff teachers that are reporting. The buildings right now, teachers are not reporting to the buildings. Maybe a few are, but the majority are not reporting.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking you. Is a custodian in the buildings at all times? when there's staff or
It
students? in the
depends,
building?
it depends what building and it depends what time. So I can't, I would have to,
So you're saying, no, there's no custodian?
I didn't
At
say that.
times
I
No,
didn't
at-
say that.
okay, but you're
Wait.
saying at times there could be no custodian is what you're saying.
I'm just saying, right now, I don't have all the information to give you an actual accurate answer, Ms. Scott. That's what I'm saying.
I think, yeah, it's been asked and answered, Ms. Scott. I'm really trying to be fair to everybody, but I
Yes.
think is there anybody else that had a question? I know this is monumental for everybody. We're talking about moving pieces in every direction. So I appreciate your concern. Anybody else have a question? Seeing none, can we call the question, please, Sarah?
Ms. Scott,
No.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
No.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2.
Okay, next up, personnel report. Personnel, it's recommended the Board of Education accepts the personnel report for Madison District Public Schools as presented. No new hires, no terminations, no position eliminations, no retirements. A resignation of a bus driver, Michelle Curtis, transportation effective 1/1/21. Was someone trying to get my attention? No, okay. Let's see, recall. No layoffs. Recall Terry Fields bus driver, transportation 1/18/21. And Derek Glenn bus driver, transportation 1/18/21. Is that all of them, Mr. Abdullah?
I believe so.
Thank you. And with that, can we have somebody make the motion?
Madam President,
Oh, Madam President,
Ms. Scott, go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, and support.
Madam President, I'll support.
Thank you, Mrs. Ott. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the question, please, Sarah.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next up is the check register approval. Yeah, I'm confused. Am I doing 63? Page 63?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. It's getting late. The expenditures for the month of December 2020. Details are attached. Accounts payable, $453,648.35. Payroll, $529,976.51. Wire transfer, $608,852.42. Total out, $1,592,477.28. It's recommended the Board of Education approves the monthly expenditures. Do I have a maker of the motion?
Madam President,
Ms. Thompson?
I'll make the motion.
And we'll give her the maker, and Ms. Ott will be the support. Any questions?
Chair, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Chambliss.
Okay, my question is for Dr. Hill, and I was just wondering, how far after a board meeting does a board member get paid the $45 usually?
Go ahead, Dr. Hill.
Okay, I just wanted to unmute myself. We try to make it timely, but we don't have a set rule or things like that in terms of when the next, ideally, the next month, but that's not etched in stone anywhere.
My question is, there is a charge for $709 for Mark Kimball to get paid 4 years worth of board meetings, 62 meetings, almost
Yes.
$3,000 to get paid 4 years later.
Yes, I know Mark Kimball elected to not be paid out at the time.
Right.
So that's the reason why you see the large amount, because we're going back 4 years. We don't have anything in writing in terms of when board members get paid for attending board meetings. So Mark Kimball elected to be paid out, what we owed him in terms of his time on our board.
Would that affect taxes? Like, would you have to go back to like 2019, 2018, 2017 and change your payroll outage because of the tax year and it was like the service was rendered?
No,
Like,
he's not on our payroll. Board members are not on our payroll.
okay, tax in general, would it affect past taxes because the amounts would change?
You know what? He takes care of his own taxes.
No, ma'am, I'm not talking about.
No, the amounts are immaterial, so no, we would not have to go back and do that.
Okay, do you know if in April of 2020, when the board voted to retroactively pay back to January 13th, 2020, because they had paused the payments and they voted to go back for those 4 months, did he get a check at that time?
No.
Mark Kimball has not gotten paid for his entire 4-year service. He elected not to be paid at that time, and then he elected to be paid. That's strictly up to him. We don't have a board policy saying that he could not go back a certain amount of years. As a school district, in terms of, our liability, we can follow what the Internal Revenue Service goes back 10 years. The Internal Revenue Service can go back 10 years on an individual. We follow the same thing.
It just, I don't know, feels like in a district during a pandemic. That just doesn't seem fair. And I feel like it should have raised and
And
I
okay,
agree with you. But, yeah.
and okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I do.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna say first, this was hours everyone else was paid for. They were due to him. He probably had his own reasons for not taking it when he did. But everybody else that was on the board got paid for those meetings.
Yes.
They just got them one check at a time. So I guess that's just duly noted. But go ahead, Ms. Scott, you have the floor.
Okay, understandable that that's what Mark had chosen, but the board did take a vote on April 28th to go back for back pay, January 13th, 2020 forward. So board payments were stopped and it went back from January 13th. So going further, I would hope that the board would take action against this so that it doesn't keep falling on, this could happen again in the next 4 years. So we're already in a pandemic, and then our budget, we're already having, with budgets for COVID and everything. So now we are just going to have people, claim that they're not taking a dime from the district, and then all of a sudden hit us with a bill 4 years later. So I would hope that the board would be more transparent going forward and maybe make it a bylaw. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mrs. Ott.
When we voted to reinstate our pay, it was for when we stopped our pay to try to save the district money. We were then informed by the CFO that we were interrupting, the money was there and we needed to get paid. So we just went back to when we stopped our board payment. We didn't go
Correct.
all the way back for 4 years. The man worked for 4 years. He's owed his pay like we all got ours. That's all I would like to say.
Yeah, and, go ahead, Mr. Abdullah. He wants the floor.
If the board wants to change its bylaws, because the bylaws are silent to this, then the board will have an opportunity. I think there's a lot of opinions, but the bylaws are what governs us. So if the board in the future wants to discuss this, then great, but it is what it is. He's earned that money, just like every other trustee that's been there, they've earned it. And so is money owed to him. And then in the future, let's visit the bylaws. Let's change the bylaws and let's make them what's acceptable to this board. And then we could move forward.
And just so that you guys know, I know when I was on the board previously, me and a couple other school board members, because like, I don't know if the laws changed, but like the flower fund couldn't be funded by the school district. There was a big thing in Oakland schools, and so the district was having to take donations. So for a long, long time, I donated my board checks to the flower fund because I didn't want to see someone who had lost a loved one not be able to get district flowers. So people can do with their board checks what they want. And like I said, we all have individual reasons for why we do it. But if there's no other questions, let's just call the question and move on, please.
Ms. Scott,
No with protest.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Thank you.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
Absolutely not.
motion carries 5-2.
Okay. With that, we have a closed session, and I know we have been very, very late. We need to do it. I'm asking for 2 minutes, and can we, while we're resetting up our closed session, I'm not familiar with how that works, so you're gonna have to kind of walk me through it. But will I have a minute to, run to the bathroom or whatever?
So I sent you an invite in your email to the closed session. Go to the restroom, do what you have to do, and then log in to the, let's say 5 minutes, and then we'll meet in the closed session.
Okay,
Should we
so I
leave
have
this meeting?
to-
You have to leave this meeting.
Yeah, we leave this
Oh,
meeting.
okay. Because I was confused. Okay.
Yeah, you leave this meeting, you check the email that I sent you. And then again, this is, you have to stay while we're going into closed session.
Right.
Under
Yes,
8H.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Abdullah,
Yes.
you do have to save the information from this meeting to get back in.
Yes, so all you have to do, once you get you got my email already in your inbox. Click on that one, then go
Right.
back to your email when you log out and find the email from Sarah Moeller that she sent you, and then click on that one and she'll let us back in.
I was just
Okay.
letting President Holder
Is
know.
it the same,
Thank you.
is it the same ID and password as this meeting?
No, check my
No.
email. I just
Because
sent
I'm
you,
not on my iPad, I'm on my computer.
Gloria, I sent the email to you
Okay.
about an hour ago. You'll see it. And then click on that link and I'll get you there. Let me know if you
Okay.
know about it.
So I need a motion, closed session under section 8H of the Open Meetings Act to consider the written opinion of council. I need a maker and support, please.
Madam President, I will make that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Ott. And support,
Madam President, I'll support.
Mr. Holcomb, you're up. Okay, 5 minutes. Thank you.
Do we need to do a
And-
roll call?
vote. We do. Thank you.
It's late.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you. And we'll be right back.
Ms. Thompson, I copied it and sent it to you.
Yeah, I have it here. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Dinner.
This has got to go in the record books, don't it?
Can we just table the rest of the?
This used
agenda?
to be pretty normal, but
I
anyway.
said that, Sarah, but
We could do this the next time.
There really isn't a lot of discussion on this stuff, is there?
Well, that depends on all of you. So.
No, as soon as we see Angel, we're going to the next item.
Did Rebecca get in yet?
No, I haven't seen her.
Oh, Crystal, I'm glad you're paying attention because I'm losing everybody.
It's late.
Yeah.
16 points.
Uh,
Are all the trustees here?
everybody
No.
but Rebecca.
Rebecca's not here.
Angel,
Yes.
Sarah needs to come in later tomorrow morning.
She's
Oh
gonna
no,
be
I'll be in tomorrow afternoon.
she's gonna be sleeping then. I just apologize to her.
And she needs a raise.
You know.
Oh, thank you.
There's no bargaining. There's no listen. Can't bargain. Now she's gonna guilt me tomorrow.
Nah.
Okay, so maybe Rebecca's Siri is drinking now. Ah, there she is.
There we go.
Yeah, she's here.
There
Sure.
she is. Okay, we're all back in. I don't know what time it is.
11:43.
11:43, we're back in session. We have 3 things left to do. Designation of board member to OCBA, Government Relations Committee. I believe that's the one that meets like twice a year. Yes, Beth.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, no, we need volunteer and a replacement if they're first.
Okay.
Oh,
All right,
right?
so, yes, so I don't know if I say this now or not, but I would like to be the ones appointed to the GRC, but I know that Crystal and Rebecca also go to those meetings and can back me up if need be.
Okay, so we have,
Madam President.
yes, go ahead.
So the board has to designate a voting member to represent the school district, and then another member that could attend that's not a voting member.
Alternate.
So not, no, they could, it's not an alternate, they could
Not
both,
an
attend,
alternate.
but only
Okay.
one votes.
That's what I
Right.
said. I be the appointed voter, but Rebecca and Crystal go to those meetings as well. So there's 2 of them that would back up.
So which one of the 2 wants to be the alternate? Crystal or Rebecca? Raise your hand. No volunteers. to be-
I'll do it.
Okay, so Beth Scott will be the voting member. Rebecca will also be a member. Crystal will be the alternate. Anybody else want the job? Seeing nothing.
So the GRC is the Government Relations Committee. That's where they get the updates. It is more than twice a week. I mean, more than twice a year. It is.
Okay,
And they do get updates. It's like how I have my weekly superintendent's meeting. They get updates, legislative updates. They get to coordinate with other Oakland County school boards. And then they are to come in and do a report, committee report, to update the board on that. That's what that.
Excuse me, Chair.
yes, Crystal, go ahead.
I think it's important to note too, the entire board is always welcome at all the meetings. We would just have Beth as our one that was allowed to vote, but we can all go and attend the meetings, even if we're not there or an alternate. The entire board is always open to it.
Okay, wonderful.
Will the
Okay,
entire board get notification of when they are?
Yeah, I've been getting them to my email. I'm assuming that everybody else is getting them in their email, but I can, when a meeting's coming up, I can message Mr. Abdullahad and ask him to inform you guys when the meetings are.
It's through the
Yes.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
Gloria, so it comes through Oakland County School Board Association.
Okay.
That's the one that we attended, Gloria, all of us for the orientation.
Yeah.
That's the one that we went to for the welcome. All of us went to, well, not all of us, but many of us.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. The invites come as, it looks like it's Oakland County School Board Association. So you have to register for a meeting, but Crystal and I or Rebecca can let everyone know when the meetings are. We do have one this Wednesday, the 13th. We had one last week and we're going to have one at 6:30 p.m. and I can send that information. One of the items we're going to be discussing is truancy letters because other school districts are having issues with that as well.
Okay. So Sarah, can you call a roll, please?
Do we have a motion?
I made the motion.
Yeah,
that we're appointing Bescott.
Okay.
Bescott and Rebecca. Bescott.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Crystal Beaver.
Okay, Mr. Holcomb second, okay. All right. Ms. Chambliss,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next, how many members are seated? This is the new OCSBA Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee.
Previously, Madam President, that was Barbara Castle and Mark Holcomb, I believe they were going. You have to appoint 2 people for that Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee.
Oh, okay. So, Mr. Holcomb, did you want to continue to do that?
No, I don't think so. If somebody else wants to, they're more than welcome to.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Mrs. Thompson is raising her hand. She says yes.
Rebecca also, Madam President, raised her hand. She says,
I'm sorry?
Rebecca Chambliss also raised her hand. You need 2 people. She also raised her hand.
Okay,
As
thank you.
someone else. Yeah.
Okay, so anybody else have interest?
Madam Chair, it says in the board action item that a position is vacant. Do we designate an alternate for this or do 2 people attend?
I think they have 2 members, don't they?
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes, Crystal, go ahead.
According to the meeting that we're in, that we were in regarding this, you choose 2 that would be our voting members if we ever came down to a vote, but all board members, again, are welcome to the meeting.
Okay. So, Mrs. Thompson and Mrs. Chambliss, those are the 2 that want to do this? Okay. Take roll call, please, Sarah.
Mrs.
Gonna
Ott,
make a motion?
Didn't we?
I'll make the
motion.
It's late. I think everything is getting blurred.
okay, Mrs. Holder, Ms. Scott. Yes?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, voting. Mrs. Ott,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. And the last one is Parks and Recreation. We've always had 1 position and 1 alternate. Is that still what it is?
What is it? What does this do now?
They meet once a month.
Once a month.
Too. And who's our current represented.
Mark
It
Kimball.
was Mark Kimball, but I was his alternate, and I already responded that I was willing to do it again.
Okay, so Gloria wants
Member.
to be the member. Do we have, Debbie, you want to be the alternate?
Sure.
All righty. Anybody else? Are we good with that? Take roll, Sarah.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mark. I'll
You're
second the
saving me,
motion.
Mr. Holcomb.
Second, okay.
Thank
So I have Mr.
you.
Holcomb and Mrs. Ott.
Yes.
First and second. Roll call, Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Miss Scott,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver,
Yes.
Ms. Chambliss, Mrs. Ott.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is board comments, and I'm gonna ask if we can make them brief only because of the lateness of the night. We will have ample opportunity later to share later. So if we don't mind, if we can just do it quickly. We're gonna start right to left. Mrs. Beaver.
Why do I have to go first? I had like 3 pages, but I'll save it for next meeting. I just want to say, that's it. I'll save them for next meeting.
Thank you. Mrs. Ott.
Thanks everybody for Zooming with us tonight and sticking with us through this long meeting, and we'll see you next month.
Mrs. Scott.
I, like Crystal, had a couple of pages, but welcome all to the new year and welcome to all new board members. Thanks to everyone for their hard work. Staff, home, board, students, and for this long Zoom meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Holcomb.
I'd like to thank all you for hanging around with us all night, and welcome the new people. And let's get something done there. Thank you.
Mrs. Chambliss.
I'm going to cut it down super short. I just wanted to thank the community members for all the support and allowing me to be on this board. I hope I make everybody proud going forward. I'm excited and honored to be part of this board. Look forward to doing a lot of great things and working together to improve our amazing district. That's it.
Great, thank you. Mrs. Thompson.
I'm just going to reiterate what everybody else said. Congratulations to the new board members, and going forward, I want to thank everybody who showed up tonight and stuck in there with us. I see a lot of names still up there. Thank you.
And for me, Sarah, thanks for having my back. Mr. Abdullah, same. I really do appreciate the brevity that everybody gave me tonight, since this is the first meeting I've attended officially in a few years. So thank you. Good night. And Mr. Abdullah will get with us soon about our next meeting. Thank you so very much.
Can I make a motion?
I'm sorry.
So,
are you done?
Yeah.
No, Crystal had her hand up.
I was just saying I was going to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
That's what I was calling for. Crystal gets the
Then I'll
motion.
second it.
Gloria's supporting. Need a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mrs. Holder,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mrs. Ott,
Yes, 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 yes.
Ms. Chambliss,
Absolutely, yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah.
Good night.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Sarah. Good night.
Night.
Good night.